Franklin along with Ed Cunningham. Also Jack Arute. Joining us tonight, we'll be talking with Jack and Desmond Howard on the sidelines with us as well this evening. It is fourth down on the opening series of our ball game, and the Washington Huskies, as a flag now has come down deep in the secondary, but they are lined up to punt.
Where this is thrown, I wonder if this is an illegal participation against Hawaii. Too many men on the field.
Substitution infraction on the defense. 12 men on the field. That's a 5-yard penalty.
And what looks to me like a first down.
It is a first down.
Bad mistake by Hawaii on your special teams. They didn't count the number of heads that were running out there. And, of course, the new rule a couple of years ago that you can't even have 12 on the field when the play is imminent. And Hawaii could not get the guy off in time. They got called for a humongous penalty after a good defensive stop to start the game.
So it is a first down for the Huskies, and a scrimmage from the Warriors' territory for the first time tonight. First down at the 45. Locker, quarterback draw, gets it outside, 40, 35, 30 down the sideline, and is going to be tackled as he steps out of bounds at around the 23-yard line. Let's go to the sideline and check in with Jack Arute.
Aloha, Ron. Let me tell you one thing. It's electric here in the Aloha State, all about the Hawaii Warriors. But it's just more about a BCS Bowl berth. They have to win tonight to get their ticket punched, most likely to the Sugar Bowl. But the money, well, in the past, they've competed in the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl that pays out to individual teams $325,000. If they make it tonight and stay undefeated and go to the Sugar Bowl, their portion of the spoils will be $4.2 million. That's almost double what their entire football budget is for 1 year, guys. There's a lot at stake.
Okay, Jack, that's Rankin who goes off the right side and takes it down inside the 20-yard line to around the 18. Bukene is there to make the stop. And let's check down on the sideline with Desmond Howard. Desmond.
I'm going to observe Colt Brennan. He's the Heisman candidate. Some guys lost tonight, so he's really in the race now. I want to see that high-profile run-and-shoot offense that he's running. Now, one thing I've observed already are these green tea leaves is what the fans use to ward off evil spirits from their team. It's going to be an exciting night, guys.
Okay, Desmond, we look forward to hearing from you tonight as Rankin gets the football and takes it very close to the 11-yard line. Adam Leonard making the tackle for Hawaii. Boy, how huge is that penalty?
Unbelievable.
An illegal substitution violation, and the 5 yards, it would have been punting time for the Huskies. 1, 2, 3, and out. And they gave the Huskies new life, and right now, Washington trying to take advantage of that at the 10-yard line.
And they got the ball just over the 10, so unable to get a first down. Locker is such an athletic quarterback. Not a whole lot of straight runs here. I would suspect they're going to move him out of the pocket some and give him a run-pass option.
Straight ahead with the running play. And not very much for Louis Rankin this time. Maybe a couple of yards as Watson, number 93, is there to make the tackle.
Well, Louis Rankin has, in his senior year, he looks like he got banged up on that play and is coming off the field. He has been the go-to running back, suffered a hip pointer against Cal, but healed up fairly quickly from that. Not sure what's going on with Louis right now.
Paul Homer, the fullback, lines up just behind Locker, and he's going to be there to block Locker. 2, 1, touchdown, Washington. So it did not take very long. Elimimian and also Desmond Thomas trying to combine on the stop, and he just drugged them with him into the end zone.
Well, so very difficult. Louis Rankin comes out, and well, let's check to see if he was down before he gets in the end zone. It looked like the ball was right there, yep.
The ball was
awfully close. Yeah. But he becomes a running back. I mean, that's just a lead. They're going to review this. I think this will stand as called. I think this will. I agree, Ron. It looked like that ball was over the goal line right when that knee hit the ground. But you go back to that play. Louis Rankin comes out. He was banged up on the play before. Well, this is the best angle by far. Yep, looks like it. It clearly looks like that ball's over the line right before the knee hits, but close enough to take a look. But Lewis Rankin comes out, who we expected to see a ton of tonight, and we will see a ton of. He's had 2 games over 200 yards in the last 4 games. But then you have Locker in there, and it's a one-back offense. Paul Homer, the fullback, stays in there, becomes a lead blocker, and it's just a one-back offense with a lead blocker in the backfield with Locker.
And let's check in with Jack. You got more on the injury to Rankin.
Yeah, Ron, nothing of major concern. You know, the NCAA has a blood rule. In other words, there can't be any open wounds. Well, Rankin got a burn, and it opened up a wound on his right bicep. They're trying to administer to that now, try to stem the bleeding. What we need down here, guys, is a good cut man. You know one?
Yeah, that's so early in the fight.
Yeah.
So it is a touchdown that has been reviewed, and the replay officials upstairs say that, yes, the ball had, in fact, crossed the goal line. So Perkins comes on and tries to make it a 7-0 lead very early on. We have not played 4 minutes as yet here at Aloha Stadium. But the kick is up and is good. Carl Bonnell with a great job of bringing down the high pass from center. 7-0. Huskies jump out on top early. Welcome to Jimmy V Week on ESPN as we continue our commitment to the V Foundation for Cancer Research in tribute to Jim Valvano and his dream to defeat cancer. So we got a 7-0 score with 11 minutes and 23 seconds showing on the first period clock. Washington came out and threw on first down. After that, it was 7 straight runs of the football. And I think that they have proven to themselves that probably that first play, let's don't go there again for a while unless we just have to.
Well, that's what the Hawaii coaches as the ball falls off the tee. The Hawaii coaches all across the board, Greg McMacken, especially the defensive coordinator, said this is the most physical offensive line we will face all year. And it's been, in a tough year for the Huskies, a very good growth of the offensive line, some very good young players, and it looked like they were creating some pretty good seams early.
Well, as far as Hawaii is concerned, that's a good right cross to the jaw to get their attention for those that have been reading their clippings and kind of floating along. Got a ball game on your hands. Malcolm Lane tries to get it outside in the leg. Spins off a tackle. Now here comes a flag down. And this is going to go against the Warriors. And already they are now starting off on the wrong foot on offense as well.
It's interesting when we were meeting with Colt Brennan yesterday, he mentioned that last year.
Block in the back on the receiving team, number 30, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, first down.
Last year's Team 06 may have been a little more talented. 5 guys got drafted in the NFL off of the Warrior football team last year, but they've been behind, and this year they've been challenged, and he said that I think that's the biggest difference with this team. We've been challenged. We know how to play 4 quarters.
So here comes the Hawaii offense, and number 15, Colt Brennan. David Farmer joins him in the backfield. It's David shifting from the right over to the left. He looks like a fullback, but he is listed as a tailback. And they go to the shovel pass, and the ball is knocked down. It's an incomplete pass, although Washington is scrambling for it. Incomplete. Now let's take a look at the Hawaii starting offense presented by XM. Here's Neil Everett.
In 1973, Hawaii beat Washington in Seattle as a 50-point underdog. Biggest upset in school history. Colt Brennan and Devon Bess going to do their best to make sure these Huskies don't exact revenge, helping protect Brennan so he has the time to find Bess. There's the Warrior offensive line, Hercules Satele. He's from a long line of Warriors. Onipa'a.
I hope what he just said didn't get us in trouble with the FCC. Well, a short pass dumps it off, and that's Libre. Libre is going to take it on across the 20-yard line. And now let's take a look at the Washington defensive starters. Here is Chuck Nelson.
The big boys up front on the defensive line feature 3 seniors, but it's sophomore Daniel Teo-Nesheim who comes home to the islands to try to send those seniors out on a winning note. The linebacker corps will have to play run occasionally and pass a lot. They're led by senior strong side linebacker Dan Howe. The secondary will definitely be tested. Corners Byron Davenport and Roy Lewis will have their work cut out for them tonight.
Okay, Chuck Nelson, nice job. We appreciate both of those gentlemen with helping us with our lineups tonight. It looks as though Jordan Reffett is going to come out of the ball game, and you can see he is holding that arm. Obviously got it caught in an awkward position on the play.
And one of the seniors who would love to get the sour taste of the Apple Cup out of their mouths. Of course, first time in several years that Washington has played a game after their rivalry with Washington State, and it was a very difficult, emotional loss last week.
So another running back of the ball game. Jason Laumola, 300-pound running back. Hit, ball is loose, scrambling for it. Washington has recovered at the 21-yard line. E.J. Savannah makes the recovery.
Well, it was an outside blitz and very aggressive early on. A good call. Nate Williams, the safety, comes on the blitz, causes the fumble.
He's only a freshman.
And they have high hopes for this young man. So right away, Kent Baer, the defensive coordinator, showing pressure on a 3rd and short situation, and he brought 2 more to that side than Hawaii could pick up. It looked to me like Brennan saw something he wanted, but he couldn't get the ball out in time.
Well, he turned to the bench and patted himself on the chest, saying it was my fault.
That's his guy.
I knew better than to hold the football that long. Here they come with a reverse. This is Russo at the 15, cuts it inside at the 10, at the 5, and knocked out of bounds just inside the 2-yard line. Washington on the prowl again.
You know, one of the things that a lot of people in the Seattle area and Husky fans have talked about with this team, there's great effort, and Washington, they're starting to get good young players in the program, but the team throughout the season had a hard time figuring out their identity on both offense and defense. And early on in this game, they got the running game going. They're starting to do some things a little differently than they've shown throughout the year with reverse and a blitz to get things going.
Homer and Kravitz, 2 fullbacks in the backfield, and the handoff goes to Kravitz, and Kravitz is going to be stopped at around the 1-yard line. Lahili is the man who is there to make the stop.
Well, Kravitz, a junior, has become the short yardage and goal line back.
Now this Hawaii defense needs to rise up and force at least a field goal and not give up another touchdown this quickly. 2nd down and goal. Fights his way forward, and they're going to say the play was over at about the half-yard line. Adam Leonard will be credited with the tackle. As you look at Eric Robinson, who continues to run all the way, the length of the field here at Aloha Stadium.
Watch Locker drop his head and start taking Hawaii helmets bouncing off of him. It was good to call it there. They could have called Homer for assisting the runner, but the momentum had stopped. But very dangerous call. Remember, Jake Locker suffered a bad neck injury. Made him miss a game against Oregon State. Kind of shocking that they would run a quarterback sneak.
So here is Washington, 3rd down, about a half-yard away. Straight ahead, and the officials say no, he did not get in. Coach's decision coming up here. Do you go for it, Ed?
I think you do. I don't think that 3 points for Washington right now, I don't think it does anything for their momentum, and I think you don't want to be kicking field goals when you have the chance to score against Hawaii. Hawaii's going to figure it out. They're going to be fine. Brennan's going to be fine. They'll figure out those blitzes. So I think right now you go for it on 4th down. And you have gained some yardage. You know, you have a quarterback in Locker who did suffer a neck injury. So you have to be concerned about that. But he is a powerful guy.
So they are going to go for it. Keilili Moka made the last tackle. 4th down. And it's about a half-yard away. Right side, touchdown Washington. So Kravitz, 6'1", 245 pounds, a junior out of Olympia, Washington, scores the touchdown, and it quiets the crowd as Ulika, the right guard, Casey with a very good block on the play to lead the charge.
And I like the aggressive call by Tyrone Willingham to go for it there on 4th down. You don't want to be kicking field goals against Hawaii because it'll come back and haunt you in the 4th quarter.
Extra point attempt is down, and it is good. And as we go to break, take another look at the fumble that cost the Warriors 7 more points. 14-0. The Huskies on top.
I'm Chad Johnson, and I am.
This telecast is available on ESPN2 HD, presented by Pioneer Kuro HD TV. 14-0. Washington on top. 8.5 minutes left to play, opening quarter, and it's like the Warriors have had a late wake-up call for this one.
And kind of shocked, quite frankly, because it felt to me like when we sat down with their players and coaches yesterday, they were very relaxed but very focused. And you pointed out that Colt Brennan, after that blitz, patted himself.
Yeah.
They didn't have enough blockers, so the quarterback has to know that and get rid of it, and he just didn't. And as he tried to shift the ball, of course, it was stripped. But this team is used to, again, they're used to being down this year. They weren't. Last year they had a run of blowout wins, and they just weren't ready for their last game of the season against Oregon State, which they lost. And this year's just a bit different for Hawaii, so they're not going to panic.
I'm happy to report 95 Jordan Reppert, the senior out of Moses Lake, Washington, who was injured on that last sequence, has just trotted out of the locker room and come back out on the field. So it appears as though he's ready for the game. From around the 5-yard line, the return by Newberry. Not very much on the return, short of the 15-yard line. Jack Arute, what do you have for us?
Well, fellas, you would think, and of course our head coach for the Washington Huskies does believe, Tyrone Willingham, if you get lemons, you make lemonade. Well, how about this for travel woes? They were 6 hours delayed coming out of Seattle-Tacoma Airport yesterday to get here. They arrived so late they had to dispense with the normal walkthrough here at the stadium. I talked to him before the game, and I said, how did your team respond? He says, Jack, it actually gave us a lot of time to think about the task at hand. He says, I think it's going to make us tough. Well, so far, so good. Maybe they needed to have more delayed flights.
I started to say they need to stick around a little longer at SeaTac and see if it doesn't make them angry. Swing pass, complete, goes for short yardage out to around the 18-yard line.
Well, you know, the thing about Tyrone Willingham, and a lot of people said, well, why are you coming so far the day before the game? Some teams will travel on Thursday. Coach Willingham decided that this team has worked so hard and they deserved a little bit of a break. So he decided instead they would stay a date later. They're not going to leave until Monday morning, of course, not going to a bowl game. He figured there's a lot of kids on his team from Hawaii. They recruit in Hawaii. He figured that the backside day was a better day. And I say hats off to that. This team has worked hard. They haven't gotten the results they've wanted.
Pass incomplete at the 32-yard line. He was looking for Devon Bess, and so their first attempt of the night goes awry. You talk about tough travel. Go back to 1938, Washington and Hawaii. Washington came out here to play the game for the Pineapple Bowl, and travel not being what it is today, the Huskies took the British motor ship, the Orangi, to and from Honolulu.
They practiced on the deck as they were coming across the ocean.
Oh, my. Third down, line to make is out at the 24. Brennan under heavy pressure, and he is going to be sacked. And that is Ufoa. Ufoa Wilson is a senior, and he's from right here in Hawaii.
Yeah. And it looks like Brennan is down and cradling his right arm. Ufoa makes a great move. Just dips his shoulder, gets right under the left guard. Not quite sure what happened there. It looked like, if anything, Brennan's legs may have gotten tangled up. Ufoa, from the way he's cradling his arm, but it looked like, if anything, it would have been his legs. Ufoa looked like he may have landed on the back of his feet.
So let's keep an eye. Tyler Gronke. Well, he's in pain. You can see him beating that fist on the ground.
And he had an ankle injury that was with him for a long time in the middle of the season. I wonder if he hasn't retweaked that ankle.
Tyler Gronke, who played every play except 2 against Nevada, is warming up on the sideline. What can you see here?
Oh, yeah. His left leg went over his right leg, and it tweaked the outside. Excuse me, his right leg over his left leg. It tweaked the outside part, it looked like, of his left ankle. And Gronke He's a very capable guy. They're going to hand the keys to this system over to him next year. He'll be a senior. And he was a little shaky at the beginning of the Nevada game, but when they needed it, when they needed that drive at the end to drive into field goal range, he made it happen. He took him 61 yards and 11 plays to win.
So we'll keep an eye on him. As Grasso comes in to punt it away. And he appears to be walking better now. Russo is the deep man, and already leading 14-0. They stand to get very good field position. This is a dandy kick, though. Russo all the way back to the 36-yard line. At the 45 in trouble, and he is going to break a couple of more tackles and take it to the 49-yard line. Now let's take a look at the Washington starting offense presented by XM. Here once again is Chuck Nelson. Chuck?
Thank you, Ron. The Huskies are led on offense by redshirt freshman quarterback Jake Locker, who undoubtedly tonight will do something that will make you say, wow. When Jake does not throw it or carry it himself, he'll hand it off to senior Lewis Rankin, who'll be looking to add to his 1,149-yard total for the season. The offensive line up front is centered by Juan Garcia, a senior who may come back for another year of eligibility. He's dying to be the next Ed Cunningham.
All right, Rankin turns the corner, and the ball comes loose, and now the officials say he was down at the 31-yard line. Right now, to me, one thing is very obvious. Hawaii is not ready, not prepared yet for the speed of UW. And that's all there is to it.
And the power, that's exactly what Greg McMacken, as another Husky, is down. Looks like a lineman over on the far sideline.
Looks like Haben. Cody Haben.
Haben, a redshirt freshman, part of that recruiting class that was so good 2 years ago for offensive linemen. Ryan Toller also part of that group. All of these guys working their way into the starting lineup. And it's been such an improved group, and that's exactly what the Hawaii coaches were concerned about.
And let's go down to the sideline. Jack, you got more on Colt Brennan.
Yeah, it's actually very, very good news. He has refused all medical attention, and one of the reasons why is quite simply because he had the wind knocked out of him. He's getting his breath back, and now he's calling upstairs to get the latest information, and expect him back very shortly, fellas.
Okay, Jack, good hustle there. Thanks. I'm sure for Hawaii fans, that is indeed good news. They want to see this young man play tonight. See if he can dig them out of this hole that they've gotten themselves in. 7:06 left to play, opening quarter, and it is 14-0, Washington. Looks like a light rain now beginning to fall here at Aloha Stadium.
Ben Osai will come in at left tackle. He's been sharing starting duties, so 79, a very capable player coming in. So I don't expect Washington to do much different than they're doing already. Number 9 and number 10 running.
If it ain't broke, and right now it's certainly not broken. Fake the reverse, handoff straight ahead to Rankin, and he's going to have about 6 yards on the play. Now let's take a look at the Hawaii defensive starters. Here again is Neil Everett. Neil?
The state of Hawaii was created by undersea volcanic eruptions. Warrior defense looking to emulate with Michael Lafa'ele up front. He's the father of 3. Adam Leonard at linebacker. He's Seattle's finest. Jacob Patek looking for a win before the senior walk. Uamauka Ea Oka'aina Ikapono. The life of the land is preserved in righteousness.
All right, Neil Everett, great job. Rankin bounces it outside and finally is going to be shoved out of bounds, but he's all the way to the 15-yard line, and that's Lewis who finally corralled him.
Well, we'll take a look at the X factor for today's game. For Washington, it's pretty simple. When they run the ball and run it well, they win. And, those losses, you can say, well, they didn't get a lot of yards because they were throwing. They were in a lot of those games, and for Hawaii, they score so quickly. So this game is going to be all about what we've already seen, Washington trying to control the ball.
And look at the rushing yardage, 109, -5 for Hawaii. Locker keeps it, turns it up 15, at the 10, knocked out of bounds around the 5-yard line by Newberry. And I I believe this is going to be another Husky first down.
I think the hardest thing, and you were talking about Hawaii not ready for the speed and physicality of Washington, the hardest thing getting ready to defend Jake Locker is his acceleration. There's very few players in the country at any position who accelerate as fast as he does. And Greg McMackin, when he was watching film of this guy, said it's going to be so hard for our guys their angles are going to be messed up, and that's exactly what happened there. The angles were all off for Hawaii.
Greg McMackin, you got a good look at him, the defensive coordinator, trying to find some way to shore up this leaky defense by the Warriors of Hawaii. Tackle made by Eric Robinson that time, but it's still down around the 3-yard line. And it will be second down for the Huskies.
And Lewis Rankin, a young man who all of the coaches talked to and said, listen, you have NFL potential. He kind of has a receiver's body. He's kind of built like Darren McFadden down in Arkansas. And they said, listen, you're going to have to get more physical. You can play at the next level, but you have to get more physical. And he's done that over the last half of the season.
Homer and Kravitz in the backfield. Again, Kravitz the man that they go to on the short yardage. He's got it. Left side. Touchdown Washington. Number 3. And we still have not played 10 minutes of the opening quarter. Paul Homer, give him credit. Put a big star by his name because Paul, the sophomore out of Omaha, with a truly outstanding lead block on the play.
He has turned into a dangerous weapon for them as a blocker. And right now, Washington, 19 total plays. The first one was a pass, 18 runs. And when you have a fullback like that, that helps.
Good look at Homer, number 30. Long way from Omaha. Perkins tries to make it 21-0.
Washington is missing a tight end on the right side of their line of scrimmage. There should be a body right there.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is really cool on the part of Carl Bonnell, as he got up saying, whatever you do, don't snap the football. I'm not here.
On the offense, 5-yard penalty, still PAT.
And you're right, because if you don't have that body there, it shortens that edge, and that guy's going to be able to get off that edge much sooner and block the kick. And again, I know we're sitting at 20-0, but when you are thinking about Hawaii and when Colt Brennan comes back out and gets into a rhythm, you need every single point you get, no matter where you are in the game.
You're right. Trying to make it 21-0. Perkins just moves it back 5 yards, so it would be a 25-yard field goal. High pass again. And the kick is up, and it's good, though. Nice job again. We give credit again to Bonnell, as that's the second high pass he's had to bring down. So as we go to break, you see the block by Homer and the touchdown by Kravitz. 21-0 Huskies.
We're here today testing for the new Volkswagen Sign and Drive event, where you can get a new VW for practically just your signature. Just sign and drive. Introducing the Sign, Then Drive year-end event. Even better.
No down payment, no first month's payment, zero due at signing. Now until January 2nd.
College football. Play-by-play from every major conference. XM. Get 3 months free when you activate an XM radio by December 31st. Are you on?
We've taken the debit card to a whole new level with the Priority Rewards debit card. It works like a check and lets you access ATMs. The new secure payment chip makes shopping safer and easier. Best of all, purchases earn points toward cash back, travel with no blackout dates, and gift cards from many local and national merchants. Plus, you can combine points with your Priority Rewards credit card to earn rewards faster. To learn about Hawaii's best debit or credit card, visit any branch or FHB.com.
7-Eleven's Party Platters always add a delicious touch to the holidays. From our all-time classics to our newest creations. Just order today and pick up tomorrow. Party Platters from 7-Eleven. And Santa dollars are back again exclusively at 7-Eleven. A bankable, spendable dollar bill with Santa's face. A $2.50 special and a portion of the proceeds benefits Lokahi. Happy holidays from 7-Eleven.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by GoDaddy.com, world's #1 in .com domains. Make a .com name with us. And in part by Volkswagen. When you get into a Volkswagen, it gets into you.
Oh, part of the beauty of this part of the world. And it's a shame that actually for all 4 days that we have been here, with the exception of a while on Thursday, they have had a lot of rain. We had not gotten much rain until just a few minutes ago. I was told before the ball game, right now they're experiencing Kona winds, which comes from like the northwest, and it kept a lot of the showers north of here. But that last one got the crowd, and as if their spirits were not already dampened, the rain dampened them even more. As the return out across the 30 and out to the 32, and now Hawaii's going to have the best starting position that they've had all night. That's Malcolm Lane. And let's go down and check in with Desmond Howard. Desmond?
Guys, Washington is a team on a mission tonight. They're playing with incredible intensity. I don't know what's wrong with Hawaii. They've been lumbering around. Now, I know they've come back from deficits before, but 21-0 to Washington, a team that can run the ball and start to use ball control, can be very dangerous for these guys. So it's going to be an interesting game so far.
All right, Desmond, thanks very much. Polaris comes into the ball game at tailback, and he gets the shovel pass, and he drops it. And that right there is a very good example of the lack of focus that the Warriors have right now.
And there was a lot of people around the Washington program because of that loss against Washington State at home. They led early. It was an emotional loss. They let it get away. They had blown coverages in the secondary, a blown coverage that gave up the winning touchdown to Washington State, wondering how Washington would react. And I think Tyrone Willingham said it best. We're going on the road to a championship environment. Well, one team right now is playing championship ball. The other one is not. Unfortunately, for Hawaii, it's not them.
Farmer back in the ball game at tailback after that drop by the freshman. Pass right over the middle, and C.J. Hawthorne is not going to go very far. It is going to be third down, and they'll still need about 8 yards for the first down.
And that's Daniel Teonesheim, who's also an Islander on the play. He was coached by one of the greatest players in Husky history, Bern Brostek, first-round draft pick center, played a long time in the NFL, and I played with Bern, and I know this. Bern's the toughest guy I've ever played with, and it has rubbed off on his former pupil. Teonesheim goes a million miles an hour on every snap.
He is 6'4", 245, only a sophomore. Washington shows blitz with a three-man rush, then they stay at home, and they throw the screen pass. 40, 45, and that's Polaris, the freshman running back, and there is the initial first down of the ballgame for Hawaii, and it comes at the 4:24 mark of the opening quarter.
No pressure by Washington, and this offensive line for Hawaii is very solid. Able to move away from it. They're setting up the screen the entire way, and Polaris, a guy who's kind of bounced back and forth between receiver and running back, is taking that kind of scat back position for Hawaii right now.
Three wide receivers to the left, to the top of your screen. This is the normal formation for Hawaii. Another shovel pass, and it's Polaris in the middle, trying to loosen up the Huskies a little bit. They'll take it to the 46-yard line. And let's check in again with Jack Arute. Jack?
Well, it's no surprise the coaches told us that Keola Polaris was going to only get better throughout the course of the season. One of the reasons why, he's still learning the nuances of being a running back, guys. You see, he didn't play the position until his senior season in high school. Didn't play football at all last year anywhere because he transferred from the Air Force Academy Prep School, and he missed the spring ball here at Hawaii because he only got here in January.
Okay. Well, Leo Mule checks into the ballgame at fullback, and he gets the handoff. This is 296 pounds, folks. The ball has come loose, and Washington says they have it. Let's see what the officials, they concur. Turnover, Warriors again, and it's Lobos who makes the recovery.
And La'amule just flat drops the ball. This is not a hit that causes this fumble, as he is struggling, and it just falls out of his arm. And Ron, we're sitting here talking about a team ready to play. I am shocked at the amount of mistakes that Hawaii is making. They finally get something going, and Desmond Howard alluded to it. The way Washington is running the ball, they have got to stop making mistakes and giving it back to the guys in purple because they're able to run the ball. And that's exactly what Hawaii was worried about.
Now you hear the boos from the crowd. A lot of people thought the play should have been whistled dead. Quick count, and Locker will keep it. Breaks a tackle at the 45, at the 50, and it's going to be a 14-yard gain. Quentin Daniels, the wide receiver, number 19, with an outstanding block on the play.
One of the things that Washington has struggled all year with is the drop-back passing game. Jake Locker, who ran the wing T offense in high school, didn't throw it much at all. Still trying to find his rhythm as a passer. And when they get behind the chains, 2nd and long, 3rd and long, they just haven't been a very good offense. Well, right now, they're able to run it at will.
This is Lewis in motion, the tight end, and the pitch back goes to Johnson. And Johnson, the first time for a carry for him, and he gets whacked. Gonna lose a couple on the play. And let's check in again with Jack Arute.
Well, Ed, you were talking earlier about how Jake Locker took a hard hit and strained his neck in the Oregon State game. Well, the following week, he answered questions, and you could see it looked like his neck was still stiff. It had everybody concerned leading into the Apple Cup.
That feels good.
He was just pulling their leg, guys. He's 100%.
Hawaii's crowd trying to loosen their football team up. Locker goes on top, and there's nobody close. Russo, I guess, was the intended receiver.
And that plays into the hands of Hawaii. They're able to drop back into coverage. They do have some guys up front who can rush the passer. And so Greg McMacken, this is exactly the position he said we have to be able to get Washington into. This is not their strength.
Before that, there had been 20 straight rushing plays. 2 passes on the night. Both of those passes have been incomplete. Brandon Johnson again in the ballgame at tailback. And it's 3rd down. They need to take it to about the 35.5-yard line of Hawaii. Pressure. Locker. Hit. Loses the ball. Nope. Did not lose the ball, but is going to be knocked down for a loss. Vekude is the man who made the tackle for the Warriors.
And that time, Hawaii brought a bunch of guys up around the line of scrimmage. Good pass rush. And I don't care if your quarterback's accurate or not, that much pressure against anyone is a good thing.
Here's the punt. Good driving spiral into the rain, and it went out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. And it looks as though they're going to spot it out at around the 5. Well, Tom Brady, Randy Moss, and the Patriots continue their pursuit of perfection in the big lights of Monday Night Football on ESPN as they take on the Baltimore Ravens. After rallying late to defeat the Eagles last week, the Patriots maintained their dominant swagger. Monday Night Football on ESPN, 8:30 Eastern Time.
Well, as you take a look at the schedule that's left for New England, look at the teams that have a good pass rush. If there is an Achilles heel for the Patriots, they're having a tough time with speed rushers off the edge right now.
Again, very, very poor field position for the Warriors to take over. Polaris back into the backfield as the tailback, and he gets the handoff. They pull the guard, moves past the guard, and then is going to be whacked down hard at the 13-yard line. That's Forrester, number 23, a junior out of Los Angeles, played at Venice High School.
Well, and you've got to think, for June Jones, well, Washington has definitely come with a lot of effort. But you've got to think that June Jones breathed a sigh of relief. They had the fumble and nothing happened. No more points on the board. You get to 28, and this is a good offense, but this early in the game, that's a deep, deep hole.
Daniel Libre, number 26, comes into the ballgame for Hawaii at tailback. And they'll give it to him, same play. Pull the guard, big opening right up the middle, and he cut back into traffic. He's going to take it all the way out to the 42-yard line. Byron Davenport finally made the tackle. And Washington very fortunate they did not get a late hit penalty on from the defense.
Well, June Jones now able to get into a little bit of a rhythm as a play caller, and a lot of shovel passes, a lot more running plays than you'd suspect from the 115th ranked rushing team in the country. But I think he's trying to get this team into a rhythm.
First down, and the longest gainer of the night by Hawaii. Shovel pass. It is caught. The tackle made immediately, and I assume they're going to say yes, an incomplete pass.
Okay, take that one off the playbook. Washington's defensive line has read that shovel pass perfectly every time. It's something that Kent Baer, the defensive coordinator, obviously prepared his guys for, but they're doing a really good job. The defensive line for Washington doing a good job of recognizing it, stopping their pass rush. A lot of times, those are big plays when the defensive line continues to rush up the field and they don't recognize it.
So it's now a 2nd down and 10. We have 17 seconds left in this opening quarter. Libre again lines up at tailback. Junior out of right here in Honolulu. Brennan swings a pass out to him. Loses the football, and Washington has recovered again. Mason Foster, a freshman out of Seaside, California, makes the recovery, and that expression right there says it all.
Well, there's nobody who came to this building for the biggest game in the history of Hawaii football and expected this type of performance.
Lewis is the man who knocked it out. That's a good tackle right on the football.
But again, shouldn't be enough to rip that ball out. You've got to be able to lock that away, and they're changing these running backs in and out, and none of them able to lock it away. But the biggest game in Hawaii football history, 3 fumbles in the first quarter. I'm not sure that this audience expected to see that type of performance.
We got 9 seconds on the clock left in the opening quarter. And Locker's going to keep it, and he will get smothered for a 1-yard loss. And with that, the first quarter comes to an end. This is a quarter that they need to take outside the stadium someplace and bury it and forget it forever. The Huskies, it has been all Washington, 21-0 as we start the second quarter.
ESPN Shop has gifts from every major sport and league. Go to ESPNShop.com.
To the dedicated.
I'm Mr. T, and this is my night elf mohawk.
God, T, there's no such thing as a night elf mohawk.
Shut up, fool! Like I was saying, my mohawk storms through mighty forests on his frost saber. My mohawk.
T, it's a warrior, not a mohawk.
Well, maybe Mr. T hacked the game and created a mohawk class. Maybe Mr. T's pretty handy with computers. Had that occurred to you, Mr. Condescending Director? I'm Mr. T, and I'm a night elf mohawk. What's your game?
World of Warcraft. Try it for free at warcraft.com.
Rated T for Team.
This time I'm out to get you.
Smarter and sleeker. Now with real-time, turn-by-turn GPS navigation. It has the intelligence you require with the beauty you desire. The all-new BlackBerry Curve from AT&T, the world's leading provider of BlackBerry service. In new colors, titanium and red. AT&T, your world delivered.
Part of being a great player is having great vision. So when it came time for me to get a new TV, I got a Vizio. It's clear, it's crisp, it gives me all the details I'm used to seeing on the field. My Vizio makes me feel like I'm right in the game.
You thought I'm napping. I was missing. 40, what a block. 45.
Better.
Get in the game with the new Vizio, America's #1 LCD HD TV company.
Hi, can I help you?
Yes. Will you pretend you're my wife? Great. Come on. Happy holidays, sweetheart. Something else? Yeah, maybe not romantic enough.
Oh, pretty ready.
At Lowe's, we're happy to help you find the perfect holiday gift for everyone on your list.
What about a gift card?
Yes.
Including Lowe's gift cards.
Come into Lowe's now and get 25% off holiday decorations. Lowe's, let's build something together.
Welcome back to the Capital One Mascot Open.
Joe Bruin, hoping to salvage a possible... never mind.
Don't miss Capital One Bowl Week, December 20th through January 1st, live on ESPN and ESPN2.
Deep in the fourth quarter, McGregor nailed the doors shut.
McGregor, you crushed it!
That's what I'm talking about, boys. Snap!
Now everyone can play with EA Sports Family Play on the Week. Rated everyone.
Welcome back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by GoDaddy.com. Situation, second down, 11, Washington, and the Huskies lead it 21-0. 3 fumbles already in the ball game on the books against Hawaii. They show blitz, and here they come. Brennan throws out in the flat, and it is complete to Rankin. Newberry is out there to make the tackle. And let's go down to Jackaroo.
Fellas, June Jones went over and wanted to talk to his team, and he talked to them about making adjustments and compensating for the blitz. He also wanted to remind them, he said, look, stay calm, stay positive, stay poised. I've watched Colt Brennan on the sidelines, guys, and so far, it looks like he's doing that, but this team seems very listless on the sidelines at this point.
Jack, that is the first completed pass by Washington tonight. They have not thrown it a great deal. Haven't had to. Third down and 10. Blitz right up the middle. The ball incomplete as they got pressure on Locker, and Jake had to deliver it quickly, and that was Amani Purcell. From the left defensive end spot, he is out of Pongo Pongo, American Samoa.
Well, that was a missed assignment in the middle of the line for Washington. It looked to me like the running back needed to fill up into that middle gap and did not, went to the outside instead. And Locker had Russo open, but had to try to jump through it and couldn't get it there.
Ballman in the ball game to punt again. Good high coverage kick. Bess is the deep man, but it's not going to even come close to getting to him. But it will go dead just inside the 20-yard line. So if you just joined us, we'll show you how the turnovers came about.
Well, we saw the blitz from Nate Williams, knocks the ball loose. And then, of course, just an absolute mistake by La'amule. And then Polaris, listen, Roy Lewis got his hand in there, but that wasn't much. But you look at La'amule's fumble, and you wonder if it's just a little lack of focus early on.
I don't think there's any question.
But right now, Hawaii only has one throw to a wide receiver, and that's just not what they normally do. They need to go back to that. Throw out the screen stuff and, the running game, and just go back to letting Brennan throw it around.
Brennan zings the pass, got it complete right over the middle to Grice-Mullens, and Ryan will take it for a gain of about 6 yards.
And I think that's exactly what June Jones is going to do right now. He's seen enough of the in and out with the running backs. That shovel pass has not worked one time. And let's not forget the weapons that Colt Brennan has. I mean, Devon Bess is one of the best receivers in the country. Grice-Mullens over 100 yards receiving a game. Get these guys involved and get them involved now.
And they also have a great reputation for holding on to the football. Going to throw again. Got this one complete. Far sideline. This time, C.J. Hawthorne. Now, this is the offense that we all expected to see, and not a bunch of shovel passes and guys who are normally not key figures turning the football over.
And especially because the biggest glaring weakness for this Washington team is its secondary. They came into the year, they were very young, didn't have much depth, and they've struggled all year. Willie Tuatama from Arizona threw for 510 yards, a school record against the secondary, so let it loose.
Polaris back in the ball game at tailback. And the pass near sideline, that's Rivers. And Rivers is going to have a gain of all the way out to the 38-yard line. Tackled by Davenport.
You get the feeling Washington stumbled a little bit their last couple of drives, and didn't get good yardage on first down, that Hawaii can get right back into this thing with this drive. And it looks like June Jones has gone back to exactly what we're talking about, the strength of this offense against the weakest part of the Husky defense.
John Estes comes out over the football, a Stockton, California native. He's a sophomore, and one that his head coach says is the best center he has ever worked with, and he's only a second-year guy. Brennan under pressure. Drills the ball, has it complete out at the 45-yard line. Again, it is Hawthorne, and that's one of the things about this offense that they can make you look almost foolish on. There is always a safety valve, and he's not always close to the line of scrimmage.
Watch the block on the edge. Exactly what Jack Arute said that June Jones was working on is picking up the blitz. This is the exact blitz. The freshman Williams safety coming off the edge that caused the fumble before. You pick it up, and you've got a guy who knows where everybody is on the field. You got a first down. Nice adjustment by Hawaii on the sideline. Good in-game adjustment to pick that blitz up.
So it's a first down. The new line of scrimmage. The Warriors' 48-yard line. They trail 21-0. This pass, other side, Rivers again. And Rivers is going to take it very close to the first down. Byron Davenport will be credited with a tackle. There were 5 Washington jerseys out there. They had great pursuit on the football, but you get the feeling that Hawaii could do this all night. And why they haven't done it up until now, I guess that's a moot point. I mean, no sense in even going there.
Yep. Well, and again, you're talking about the number 1 scoring offense in the country. They're right up around 50 at 48 points per game. So being down 21-0, get back to what you've done, and it's not a huge deficit for Hawaii.
Isn't that amazing? Most coaches would be in cardiac arrest as Pilares breaks it out in the middle. He's going to have a first down. Has 5, has 10, counted off at 12 yards. Lobos is there to make the tackle, the senior out of Los Angeles.
And now, instead of on the first couple of drives where it looked like Hawaii was trying to use the shovel pass and the run to set up the pass, now it's just the opposite. And Washington, being tested on defense the first time, looking a little tired.
I don't know if it's an equipment problem or what, but Dan Howell, one of the linebackers, came off the field motioning that he needed some help, and it may be a broken headgear. Pass right over the middle. Rivers got a blocker. 20, 15, knocked out of bounds close to the 10 by Darren Harris. First down, Warriors.
Well, what an excellent job of Hercules Sateli getting downfield. Because the ball is thrown behind the line of scrimmage, watch Sateli get out there, and he just gets out there in time. Because it's thrown behind the line of scrimmage, he can be downfield, and that's exactly what Rivers was waiting for. Nice job by Rivers being patient and waiting for the big offensive lineman to come out there and throw the lead block.
One other note about Sateli. He's named Hercules. His brother, who graduated last year, was named Samson, and he was a second-round draft choice of the Miami Dolphins. In fact, he's playing for the Dolphins right now. Libre back in the ball game, and he's going to be knocked down for a couple-of-yard loss as Ufo comes in to make the tackle, number 74. There's Sateli right there, senior out of Long Beach, California. Good pass blocker, and as Ed very nicely pointed out, that he could move downfield since the pass was thrown behind the line of scrimmage, and very active for a guy that is a 300-pounder. Second down and 13. Right side with the running play inside the 10. Libre is going to be in the vicinity of the 6. And Hawaii very deliberate in saying, we want to make sure we run the football.
And in this position, because the defense doesn't have to defend the depth of the field, it does make sense sometimes in this area. And remember that Hawaii can pick up the first down inside the 1-yard line. But on this, I would suspect you may see some layered routes, maybe a pick route for Brennan to look near the goal line.
Well, David Farmer has checked back into the ballgame at tailback out of Santa Cruz, California. Good blocker. And that's what they leave him in there for. Pass to the end zone, and there's the touchdown, Jason Rivers. So at the 10-17 mark of the second quarter, Hawaii goes back to its standard offense, and they make it look very devastatingly easy.
Rivers, a senior, playing his last game, most likely in this stadium. He's become the go-to guy when they've gone back to their passing game here in the second quarter.
Dan Kelly with the extra point. He's got it. So Hawaii chips into that lead just a little bit as you take one more look at Rivers catching the touchdown pass from Brennan. The reaction by the quarterback, he likes it.
There's always something good inside. You just have to find it. Now McDonald's has it. The new McSkillet burrito. Skillet potatoes, scrambled eggs, and savory sausage, layered with zesty salsa and cheese. Find everything good about breakfast, all inside a warm tortilla.
Is the new fuel-injected Yamaha Rhino 700 the world's most reliable workhorse? Or the ultimate off-road explorer? Yes. The all-new Yamaha Rhino 700 Fi. No matter how you slice it, it's the ultimate side-by-side.
Four paws and one big shaggy heart. Doesn't he deserve to be covered too? Introducing pet injury coverage from Progressive. Now when Progressive covers your car, we cover your pet at no extra charge. Now that's Progressive. Go to Progressive.com or call.
So we are back at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. Hopefully the rain has gone away for the evening and although it dampened the spirits of this capacity house for a while, that has just changed with a 10-play drive, 83 yards, 4 minutes and 25 seconds.
It's changed drastically. This is the first time we've felt energy in this building since right at kickoff because things just went south so quickly for Hawaii. 3 turnovers, 3 fumbles in that first quarter. It's the first time we felt energy since the beginning of the game.
Well, let's also give credit to Greg McMacken and his defensive people because the first 3 drives for Washington, 123 yards, and on the last 2, they've had 8 yards in total offense. So some nice in-game changes there as well.
Bringing more people down into the box. They know that Locker's not going to beat him with their arm. Lewis Rankin is the guy, and Locker running it's going to hurt him, so they started to bring more people down around the line of scrimmage.
Kelly prepares to kick this one off. Very high, comes down to Rankin, just inside the 5, and much better coverage by the Warriors and the special teams. He will not make it to the 15-yard line.
Well, let's take a look at the local time here in Hawaii. We're approaching 8 o'clock. And a good number of people back on the East Coast are approaching 1 o'clock, which you would assume is bedtime for a lot of people who vote in both the Harris Interactive and the USA Today polls. Now, why does that matter? Because Hawaii sitting at number 12 in the BCS. If they finish 12 or higher, guaranteed a spot in the BCS Bowl. If they went to bed with Washington up 21-0, may affect their vote. Both polls' votes are due tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. East Coast time.
Well, that's a good point. They may have gone to bed now. Hawaii was in bed in the first quarter. Quick pass caught at the 20-yard line by Russo. And Russo's going to have a Husky first down at the 28. And in fact, that is the first down that they have picked up by the pass, is it not?
And the other thing, though, for Hawaii that's going their way, of course, down 21-7, it's all about the game. But they got help today. Tennessee, who was playing in the SEC championship game, sitting at 14, could have jumped over them. They lost. Boston College, who was just ahead of them, got beat by Virginia Tech. Of course, we all know what happened at top with Missouri and West Virginia. But Hawaii looks like a couple of spots may open above them. So a win, and you got to think they're in.
First down, a little counterplay. Big opening for Rankin, and he's off and running. 40, 35, and is finally going to be tackled inside the 30-yard line.
Well, you mentioned Paul Homer earlier. I am so impressed with this sophomore. And it's not that he blows guys up when he hits them. He's not a huge fullback. But watch how he gets on a guy, squares him up, and doesn't come off the block. And such a humongous hole. He gives Rankin 2 ways to go because he's square when he goes to block. A lot of fullbacks will go in and kind of duck a shoulder, and it gives the back one way. Homer goes in square, and Rankin's good enough to pick either side based on where the safety's coming down.
Or Rankin with a nice long gainer on that one right there. This time hit at the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be knocked down for no gain. It'll be a 2nd down and 10 as Watson is there to make the tackle. Jackaroo.
Well, at Cunningham, you were talking about Lewis Rankin changing his running style and being more productive and being told by the coaches to do so. He said one of the things that he tried to do this year was try to run through a couple of more tackles than he would have in the past. He said it had an effect, though, beyond his productivity. He says he's been a little more tired after the games this year.
That's a good thing. He now has 100 yards on 10 carries. That longest, just a moment ago, was 44 yards. Locker throws the ball, has it complete, and that is Marcel Reese, the huge wide receiver. He's got really good speed, but Marcel is 6'3", 240 pounds. Mouton was there to make the tackle.
And this is what you have to do with Jake Locker. Get him out of the pocket. He is just not a comfortable thrower on a 5- and 7-step drop, but as an athlete, he really can move around.
Tell you what else. They have not pressured him on this series right here, and it's made a mountain of difference. Homer and Rankin in the backfield again. That's Lewis in motion. Draw play. Rankin got by one tackler. Tries to turn the corner. He's still going to wind up with about 3, maybe 4 yards on the play.
Well, and for Lewis Rankin, he's become the first Husky since Rashawn Sheehy back in 1997 to rush for 1,000 yards. And he's starting to creep up the single-season record.
Vanotti is the man who made the tackle. He caused a very big fumble in that ball game last week against Boise.
And Rankin had to fix his face mask halfway through that run. I wonder, keep those eyes downfield. Keep trying to make guys miss.
2nd down, the line of scrimmage, just outside the 10-yard line. 21-7, Washington. Locker gets it away, and that's the fullback Homer. And Homer, did he get into the end zone? The officials still no signal. They're going to say that he's down at like the 1-foot line. You see, Locker is all the way downfield saying, come on, it's a touchdown.
It looked to me like a touchdown. When Homer went in the air, it looked like he scored. What a nice job. What a great job by Homer. It was faking like he was going to block for Locker, and he turns right around. He's such a full... Yeah, it's a touchdown. If they review this, which they should.
Tyrone is all the way down the field at the 25 and is now calling a timeout so that they will review it.
Yeah. And I believe, of course, you get one review, so now that's gone for the game, but I think Washington will get that timeout back with the touchdown.
So we'll take a timeout. 7-11 left until halftime. 21-7, Huskies could be 28.
But then Bobby said, like, why don't you take Samantha? But then Susie was all like, no, you can't do that because, Dad, this is really Old Mutual.
Bridge or tunnel?
Bridge, please. It's much more Old Mutual this time of day.
I want you to focus on one thing and one thing only. Protect the Old Mutual. You got that?
May sound strange now, but with our new thinking about your financial future, it won't for long.
It's completely Old Mutual.
If you say so.
It's him.
With the kind of craftsmanship, devotion to detail, and seriously cool stuff that goes into the Mazda 3.
Mike, can I have my car back now?
Some people might never want to get out. Mazda 3, 5-door and 4-door. Designed and engineered the Zoom Zoom way.
The bigger Hawaii becomes, the more we need the little things that keep us together. Programs that help us lead healthy lives and protect us from harm. The times when we connect, person to person. The times when we share our knowledge, people helping people. As we grow, it's nice to know that Hawaii's health plan is here to take care of the little things that make all the difference in the world. HMSA, working for a healthier Hawaii.
Jim used to write note cards all the time, and he would put his dreams on the note cards. And I remember the last time that I took a note card out of his jacket, one of the things on the card, the last thing was, find a cure for cancer.
Join ESPN and the V Foundation in the fight against cancer. Call 1-800-4-JIMMY-V or log on to www.jimmyv.org and donate.
Well, Tyrone Willingham was begging for them to review that. Don't believe he used his coach's challenge, but the play was not reviewed. And a little shocked at that because it looked like a touchdown to me.
I think it should have been a touchdown. Kravitz and Homer in the ball game lining up in that stack formation. Homer the fullback, number 30. And they give it to him and Homer. They cross him up, takes it into the end zone, and there is the signal for touchdown.
And you know who cheered the hardest for the Huskies after Homer scored? It's Jake Locker. This is going to be a good combination for Washington going forward. Homer, just a sophomore, such a dynamic player. We've seen him now getting involved in the passing game, which all good fullbacks do, and now he's able to pound it in. This is a very diverse fullback, young player for Washington.
Extra point attempt by Perkins. And Ryan knocks it home, and our new score with 7:08 left to play in the opening half is 28-7. It is the Huskies on top in this one. Rankin on that drive, 3 carries, 48 yards. Locker was 3 of 3 passing for 36 yards.
And I think the key was just they moved Locker around. When he had to throw it, they got him out of the pocket.
Well, see every matchup for each bowl game announced on Sunday Night Live on the Bowl Selection Special as host Reese Davis and analyst Kirk Herbstreit, Lee Corso, Lou Holtz, and Mark May announce and analyze each bowl game. See coaches and players' interviews and reactions, ESPN.com polls, viewer feedback, and more on the Bowl Selection Special presented by Jack Links on ESPN Sunday at 8 Eastern.
I don't know why I was shocked, but I was shocked at what happened in West Virginia today. That game played
Let me ask you,
Virginia, unbelievable that they were upset by Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I started to say, Ohio State lost at home, but that is a very good up-and-coming Illinois team. Not the same situation with Pitt.
No.
And you really got to give credit to that coaching staff and to those kids for the job that they did. Tennessee just fought valiantly, and I thought they were going to get that victory. And I kept wondering if all the distractions around LSU might bring them down. It did not. And for Bob Stoops and the Oklahoma Sooners, boy, a hearty congratulations. They have played a very good Missouri team twice, and today they beat them even worse as Jones gets the return and brings it all the way out to the 24-yard line.
Well, you sit here and you talk about who are the top teams in the country, and I have absolutely no problem with Ohio State going up into that top spot. Illinois was better than a lot of people thought. They got to see it at the end of the season. They lost at the wrong time. They just lost in November, and everybody holds that against you, but all they did was hang in there. Now the big question becomes, again, because the Big Ten finishes their season so early, they're going to have another humongous layoff before they play that BCS title game.
That's another thing that's horrible about the system, to have to sit and wait for 40 days to play a football game. Libre back into the lineup at tailback. 21-point lead again by the Huskies. They swing the ball out to Libre. 25-30, 35 to the 40, and then is headgeared out of bounds at the 41. That is Nate Williams along with E.J. Savannah. This is 9 straight completed passes by Colt Brennan.
And it went back to that last drive. At the beginning of the second quarter, they went back to the offense that had gotten them to this place at 12-0, and the leading scoring team in the country. They tried to mess around with a run game. They fumbled the ball 3 times, and now they're getting these guys back involved. Rivers, Grice-Mullens, Bess. Haven't called his name very much. He'll start to get involved here as well.
Rolls it out. Just throws a very short pass to Libre, and Libre is going to have a gain of about 9 yards on it. Not a pass of beauty, but it didn't have to be. Got it complete, and the little guy took it for 9 yards. Harris finally made the stop.
This is a part of the run and shoot that's been around forever. Of course, Mouse Davis starting to develop it in Oregon. Coached for a long time with June Jones. And you move that pocket, and the defense starts to over-pursue, and then you throw back across it. Little short throws, and then you find the creases that way.
Well, you see a little homemade signal right there from the quarterback to Ryan Grice-Mullens. Quick pass, and that's who he throws it to. And he's loose over the middle. Headed for the corner. Caught from behind at the 8-yard line by Forrester. 1st and goal, Hawaii.
This offense is based on adjusting the routes almost every snap based on the coverage. And you saw that hand signal. A lot of times they don't even have to use hand signals. They'll do it on the run. But Brennan saw something that he liked, and you just do a little slant over the middle, and there's nobody home. The coverage is just gone. Actually, not even a slant. He just ran into the hole of that zone because that safety was so deep.
43 yards in the pass completion. I think Grice-Mullens was a little surprised that he was caught from behind. But it is a 1st and goal to here with the line of scrimmage at the 7. Brennan right up the middle. There's nothing doing for Farmer. First carry by David Farmer in the ball game, and it goes for naught.
And we saw this the last time that Hawaii was in this position in the red zone where they went to run the ball, but of course they scored on the throw. So go back to Brennan. Let him toss it. Let those guys run in the back of the end zone. Brennan can move. He's obviously healthy. He had that ankle injury that was bothering him earlier in the season. So get him on the move and let those guys run along the back of the end zone. He's going to find somebody.
Farmer stays in the ball game. It's a 2nd down and goal, and they lost about a yard on that play. Good look right there at Jason Rivers. Can be the go-to guy. 6'2", they list him, but he looks larger. Pass in the flat, got it complete at the 2-yard line. That's Grice-Mullens. And Grice-Mullens is going to be tackled at the 3-yard line. That's Roy Lewis who was out there on him.
And Roy Lewis, the only senior defensive back for Washington, has done his darndest this year to keep this group focused and working hard. It's been a very difficult year for Washington in the secondary. You mentioned at the top of the show the toughest schedule in the country, and Lewis has been a true leader for a young secondary.
You could see Grice-Mullens making sure that football was secured as he felt the pressure from Lewis, the cornerback, coming up. 3rd down and goal. Colt Brennan retreats, looking, drills it, touchdown Hawaii. And again, Jason Rivers. Tyrone Willingham pacing in front of the Washington bench. It is maybe the only time in his life that he's had a 21-point lead in a ball game twice.
And nervous.
And right now he is just pacing like he's out for about a 4-mile walk. He realizes just how quickly this team, who by the way is wearing their road uniforms tonight. They normally wear black at home. Hawaii does. Dan Kelly with the extra point attempt. And he knocks it home, so they have cut it in 2. And I think from the look on the head coach's face, he has a message for somebody in the secondary, and it may not be a nice message. 14-point ball game. We'll be right back.
Dougie.
What?
Have you seen how easy GoDaddy.com is?
Huh?
Yeah, I just bought you for $1.99.
Did not.
Yeah, I did.
Dog nabbit.
Whoops, just did your dog.
Mr. Winky? My wife loves Mr. Winky.
Ah, now I'm going to do your wife.
Your mother.
You know I'm going to do your mother now.
Too late. I already did my mother.
Pervert.
is a tight one in here. Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron. I like that. White Darth Vader PSP. Nice unit. Collectible. That's great.
Customize your weapons better you can.
Dude, get your own Star Wars Battlefront Entertainment Pack.
PSP.
This holiday, don't just buy stuff, do stuff. With all the same plans from Sprint and AT&T, along with great phones, prices, and advice, you'll find the perfect gifts for everyone on your list.
No one comes into our house and pushes us around. Whose house is this? Mucus's house.
When mucus huddles in your chest, the congestion doesn't quit.
Whose house? Mucus's house.
That's why there's Mucinex. Mucinex is specially made to break up mucus that causes congestion.
Not now. It's a blowout.
And only Mucinex lasts for 12 hours.
Can we play at your house?
Mucinex in, mucus out.
Stan Verrett back here in our ESPN2 studios with this Taco Bell update. Pat White injured, left the game, came back 4th and 17, incomplete. And Pittsburgh shocks West Virginia to ruin the Mountaineers' title plans, Ron Frank.
So welcome back to Aloha Stadium, 14-point ball game as Hawaii just came storming back. And they certainly make it look as though every time they get the football, if they stick with that pattern right there, they can score it.
And I feel like, because I agree, that this is a big drive for Washington. You're sitting at 4-11 at the end of the quarter. Don't get out of sorts. Don't think you're in a back and forth. Go back to the running game, get Locker running, give it to Rankin, who's having a monster ball game, but I just feel like this is a big drive for Washington.
Well, let's see what happens here. Flag goes down as Hawaii was offsides on the kickoff, and this is Rankin. Rankin, a couple of good blocks, and then he runs into a stone wall at the 22. And there is a headgear for a UW player down at the 32-yard line.
And they're going to get Hawaii for offsides.
Yes.
It was very clearly offsides on the kick.
Offsides on the kicking team, number 50.
And let's go down to the sidelines and Desmond Howard. Desmond?
Kicking team, number 50.
Well, watching the offense, it's finally good to see Colt Brennan and those guys do what most of us has come to see them to do. But the defense, if they can't stop running that last scoring drive, Rankin got the ball 3 times for 4 yards. That's a no-no. And it's easy. Of course, Colt Brennan scored minutes or less, but then Washington get the ball and they march down the field, up 4 or 5 minutes of the clock. So that's the problem. Defense going to have to come with a big stop sooner or later.
Hey, Desmond, you know, as a receiver, and early in the game, Hawaii was doing all of those shovel passes, and they were running the ball. How much different is it now for the receivers of Hawaii that they've gotten them back in the game for their just mentality?
I think it's a world of difference because those guys, they're playmakers. They want to get the ball in their hands. I think June Jones was doing that because the first 2 possessions, Washington came with a lot of pressure. The first time, it ended up in a Colt Brennan fumble. The second time, they knocked the wind out of him. So he had to hand the ball off, do a couple of shuffle passes, just to get the flow of the offense going again, slow that blitz down. Now he's getting the ball into the hands of his playmakers. These guys are very happy.
Okay, Desmond, the second kickoff coming right here, and again it's Rankin. And Rankin is going to take it out to around the 32-yard line. So 28-14 our score. 4:03 left to play in this opening half. And I go back to what Ed said just a couple of moments ago. I think this is a really, really big series as far as Washington is concerned. Because obviously the Hawaii offense is back on course. Brandon Johnson back in the ball game at tailback. They fake it to him and a quick out pass. Got it complete to Russo, and Russo is going to be tackled after he picks up the first down. So, aloha, everybody, from Honolulu, Hawaii. What you've seen so far tonight, the first quarter, we both were amazed at how Hawaii kind of just went sleepwalking through the first 15 minutes. Now it looks as though that they're far more on course offensively.
And I think Desmond made a very good point. You know, Washington was bringing a lot of pressure early, and it didn't look like Hawaii was ready for that.
Yeah.
And the end game, what they were trying to do to adjust was doing the shovel pass and the runs, and now they're able to go back to that base offense. And I, again, think this is a huge drive for Washington.
Well, that's Brandon Johnson on the carry right there. And he picks up 5+ yards. And, of course, if you keep doing that, then you don't have to worry about throwing the football.
And that's exactly what the Hawaii coaches were saying. First down is so key. If Washington can get 5 or 6 yards running the ball on first down, they like to run it on first down, that's when we're in trouble. If we can get them to 2nd, 7, and 9, now it's in our favor. And that's what we've seen from Washington so far.
Defensively, if you're Hawaii, what do? Do you bring more people into the box?
Absolutely. They have to maybe even go to one-on-one coverage and dare the quarterback to beat them with his arm.
Well, here's Locker with a carry, and he has the first down as he rumbles inside the 40 to the 39. Adam Leonard makes the tackle.
Well, Locker has had his struggles in the passing game, but there is no doubt what this young man's ability is when he has the ball in his hands running downfield. He's elusive. He makes moves on the run as he's gaining yardage. He doesn't dance. He gets yardage when he makes moves, and his acceleration is astounding.
Kravitz, the fullback, they line him up in a short slot on the right side, and this running play is going to be for about 1.5 yards, and that's it. It's Brandon Johnson. Elamimian makes the tackle. I think it's the first time we've called his name tonight.
So. And, everything we know that Lewis Rankin is healthy makes me wonder why a true freshman, although Brandon Johnson has shown a lot of promise, went over 100 yards against Cal in relief of Rankin with a hit pointer. But, boy, I think you'd want your senior in here who's very good at holding on to the ball.
Well, that's what happened to Hawaii early. They had some guys who don't participate that much as a flag goes down. And they're the ones that turned over the football early, besides the quarterback, Colt Brennan.
The snap, false start on the offense, number 74, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
And let's check back in Bristol.
All right, Ron, thanks a lot. Stan Verrett with Jesse Palmer. Yamaha halftime report coming up in just a minute. The BCS mess, what now after number 1 and number 2 go down? Plus, miles away from Michigan, Les is staying at LSU, and USC coming up roses against UCLA. You going to start this BCS mess?
Lots of confusion right now for the BCS selection. When we come back, though, I'll tell you who I think should play in the national championship.
All right, we'll get it straight from Jesse Palmer at the half.
Locker's going to run it through the pass, I believe. Yeah, he was not beyond the line of scrimmage, but he was behind the line of scrimmage when he unloaded it. That's Russo that he was throwing the pass to.
And none of the officials on the sideline right now have called a catch or an incomplete pass. I don't think anybody had a very good angle. Let's take a look. Russo does a nice job. No, looks like that ball hit the ground. And before he had control of it, well, they'll review this. This is obviously a reviewable play.
It's under review.
Yeah, this is not a catch. His knee touches out of bounds before he has control of the ball.
You know what? I'm not knocking this group of gentlemen who are calling the game tonight. I'm simply making the point. I'm seeing too much of this. If you saw the play, you make the doggone call. Don't put it on the replay officials upstairs, because there are plays that are actually being missed because the guys up here don't totally seem as though, they want to make a change of the play. That right there is not a completion.
Right.
And with 2 officials standing right there on the sideline, that should have been very easily detectable. You got a line judge right there, and the back judge is right down below.
The back judge has a hard time because of the back of the players there, but you'd assume the line judge could see that, the ball clearly hitting the ground. But I would assume they will get this call right. And the one thing that Tim Lopano, the offensive coordinator for Washington, has been doing in the passing game, they have tried the one throw deep to Russo, and it was a total miscommunication between Locker and Russo. But they've been running those little swing screens. And you've got to think we're going to be in a 3rd and long situation. If I'm Hawaii,
The play is reversed. The player is leaving down of bounds. Incomplete pass. Third down.
So now, someone in the truck just said, and it's a great point. How do you reverse something you didn't make a call on? Because no one wanted to say.
I think they eventually got together and said, all right, let's just call it complete and make sure it's going to go upstairs and be reviewed. But now, third and long, this is not Washington's strong suit.
They are 0 of 4 on third down conversions.
Yeah, and you're at a minute 41. Your quarterback is just not good getting the ball down the field. An interception is not the worst thing down the field because it'd be like a punt if it were down around the 20 or 15-yard line. But I think some kind of screen over to the right here to maybe Reese, who's a big guy right here, who may be able to make someone miss or break a tackle.
7 men, almost 8 men in the box for Hawaii. In fact, they're creeping one more up, and then they drop the linebackers off. Little disguise as Locker throws long. Got a man there, and he overthrows. A sure touchdown in Anthony Russo.
Well, this has been for Jake Locker, who is a supreme athlete, but not quite a polished quarterback. And this has been the most difficult part of Washington's offense this year. They have had so many guys running wide open, and Locker, who throws a 96-mile-per-hour fastball in baseball, a great arm, and oftentimes too much arm.
Here's the boot. This one's going to go all the way to the end zone, and it'll come out to the 20-yard line. Ballman got a lot of foot into that one. So 28-14, our score remains, and we have 1:27 showing on the clock. Well, now here's tonight's game track presented by GoDaddy.com.
Well, early on, it went all Washington's way, and it was about fumbles. Kravitz, of course, gets in for the touchdown. And then Brennan got back into the game, and June Jones was able to go back to the running attack, and then Paul Homer gets into the action. Not only can he block and catch, he gets down on the goal line. And then, again, it's once you get Brennan into a rhythm like he's going to with a minute 27, all 3 timeouts, watch how many times he's going to sling this around, and he can throw it short, too, because they have those 3 timeouts.
Colt Brennan with that usual full wide receiver set. Here's Libre. They hand the ball off to him. Going to bring it toward the sideline, and at the 50, at the 40, finally shoved out of bounds by Forrester.
Washington caught completely off guard.
Well, they thought for the world that was going to be a pass play.
Absolutely. And when the crease was found, Libre showing very good speed getting to the outside. He's a small guy at 185 pounds. The defensive line ran a stunt. They're totally expecting pass.
Sideline warning on Hawaii. Their first sideline warning.
Hawaii got a sideline warning for being too excited after the Libre run, but those running plays now, because the passing game has gotten going, June Jones has been able to go back to the run.
44 yards on the play. Polaris comes back into the game at tailback, number 21. Running, shovel pass, and immediately Polaris is just knocked down for a loss.
And June Jones is rushing, trying to get a timeout. Yeah, he couldn't get didn't want more seconds
timeout.
To come off that
Hawaii,
clock.
their first charge timeout.
So we'll take the timeout with them. 66 seconds
Also,
left in this first half. Hawaii trailing by 14.
I'm George Fleming, a University of Washington graduate and a former Washington State Senator. I dreamed about playing in the Rose Bowl ever since I was 11 years old. We had to be physically and mentally tough, and to be in the state legislature for 22 years, you have to be mentally tough if you're going to be successful. The University of Washington played a major role in putting me in a position to be able to take those challenges on.
ESPN's College Football Bell Primetime. Brought to you by Old Mutual. The thinking is new. The name is Old Mutual. And Zales. The perfect gift at Zales, the diamond store.
Okay, so we are back, and now the worst rain of the night. It is really coming down. Brennan over the middle, throws it complete, and that is Jason Rivers, and they have it to the 25-yard line.
You know, Hawaii is not going to be bothered by this weather.
They get 15 straight completions.
Wow. And it's going to continue because they practice in the rain all the time. As a matter of fact, Wednesday morning, they're a morning practice team. It rained so hard they couldn't do anything, but they practiced as long as they could. So Hawaii is used to rain showers like this. You get these all the time on the island. So this is not going to be a big bother to Colt Brennan.
You see the offensive lineman giving hand signals, pass wide open in the flag, and that's Grice-Mullens. Mullen being spun around, and it's going to be a first down Hawaii inside the 15 to around the 13-yard line. E.J. Savannah was there defensively.
And now you want to hustle just a little bit if you're Hawaii because you want to save these timeouts. Of course, the clock is stopped right now because of the first down. Boy, that was a really nice move by Grice-Mullens. He just totally shook Byron Davenport. Picked up a couple extra yards.
39 down to 38 seconds. Polaris back in the ball game at tailback. Down to 30 seconds. Brennan looking. Lofts it to the end zone, and it is caught. Incomplete. They say Rivers came down out of bounds.
What a terrific play. Now, this is not reviewable. When a pass is ruled incomplete, it cannot be reviewed.
It looked like a touchdown is what it looked like.
The rule
he has the ball right there, and his foot comes down, and oh my.
Yeah, it looked like a touchdown to me, but when it is called incomplete, it's not reviewable.
Listen to the crowd.
Right, but they need to know that this cannot be reviewed upstairs.
There again, I go back to my point. Make a call on the field.
Call on the field.
See, here they come again, and we're wasting more time.
Ron, let me check that. In the end zone, you can challenge an incomplete pass.
See,
I apologize. In the end zone, it is
again,
reviewed.
we're wasting time.
Right.
I mean, this is going to turn into a 4-hour ball game, not because of the players, but because of the officials. See, he's got
it looks like his right foot's down. And it didn't appear. It looked like he had control of it when he hit the ground. I think that this could be overturned and incomplete. And Brennan saw on the big screen, and he ran right over, turned to his coach and said, challenge this. So this is reviewable in the end zone.
Here comes the call.
After review, the player caught the ball while inbounds. Touchdown.
Thank you. Here's the amazing thing about this Hawaii football team. And I wasn't joking when I talk about Tyrone pacing the sideline. They got the football back with what? 85 seconds on the clock? And we've still got 21 showing up there, and they've already scored.
Think about momentum. Depending on where Washington gets the ball, they'll probably just take a knee, and think how much this momentum has switched them going into their locker room.
And Kelly with the extra point attempt, he's got it. And all of a sudden, we've gone from a 21-point lead to a 7-point lead. 28-21 Washington.
You know, it was really interesting. We were talking to Colt Brennan yesterday about this team, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was this team knows how to play in tight games. 06 last year, they may have been a more talented team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But this team has been in a lot of close games. Louisiana Tech, a much improved team this year. They were behind, end up winning that game. San Jose State, they have to go into overtime and interception to seal that game. Fresno State, who's a very good club, won that one. And, of course, Nevada, without Brennan playing much, he played 2 snaps, had to go down and get a field goal with 11 seconds left. So they've been behind. They've been in close games, more so in 07 than they were in 06, and they're really used to it.
Brandon Johnson is going to be the deep man, number 6 for the Huskies. Seven-point ball game. He joined us late. You're up really late, actually, if you're in the East Coast. But it was 21-0 Washington in the first quarter. And now Hawaii, slowly but surely, this offense has come back and gotten it in sync. Kick on the ground, picked up at the 25-yard line. And the tackle is going to be made around the 37-yard line. And let's go down to Jackaroo.
Fellas, let's go back and find out where that come-from-behind attitude, the seeds were first sown. I take you back to this stadium, the Sheraton Aloha Bowl 1 year ago, the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl, when the Hawaii Warriors were down at the half to Arizona State. They went into the locker room, and their coach challenged them and said, look, you've got to learn how to play tough. They learned how to play tough and came back and won that game, and they said from that point forward, all through spring ball, all through fall practice, all through this season, all they've talked about is how they can come from behind, they can win the WAC championship, and they can go to a BCS bowl berth and be undefeated. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, they're getting a lot of help right now, Jack. You're right down there among them. You can hear the crowd as a draw play is going to go for a loss. Leonard, Adam Leonard, a junior out of Seattle, and Kailini Moka. And we are at halftime, and look at the standing ovation. They are standing and cheering with all their might, trying to bring the Warriors back, who had a miserable opening quarter and now have cut a 21-point deficit down to 7. So the two teams head to the locker room, and now the rain is done. And let's go down to the sideline and Jackaroo. Jack?
Coach, I had a little trouble finding you. Had to have a conversation with the referee there.
Well, we just need to get a little clarification on some things, that's all.
Tell me a little bit about the momentum. Back and forth looked like you had it, and all of a sudden it looks like they've got it. What do you tell the kids in the locker room?
The first thing is, we knew coming into this ball game that this was an explosive offensive team. We knew that we had to be able to make tackles on defense and hold on to the ball on offense. As the momentum switch, we did not make tackles. We allowed them to catch the ball and advance it up the field. We can't give them yardage like that. We've got to stop that. And then on offense, we just got to keep it coming, keep pushing it in the end zone.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, he always has his ducks in a row, and right there he explained exactly that's what he's going to say to his football team in about 5 minutes when he gets to the locker room. Now let's join Stan Barrett and Jesse Palmer in our studio with the Yamaha halftime report. Gentlemen.
All right, Ron, so a crazy comeback in what has been a crazy season. Why not in the final game of the regular season? The final day of the regular season lived up to the billing. Number 1 goes down and number 2 goes down. We'll sort it all out on the Yamaha halftime report in just a minute.
It's Jimmy V Week on ESPN as we continue our commitment to the V Foundation for Cancer Research in tribute to Jim Valvano and his dream to defeat cancer. Here at Aloha Stadium, it's the Washington Huskies and the Hawaii Warriors on ESPN, presented by GoDaddy.com. And let's go down to the sideline and Jackaroo. Jack?
Thanks, Ron. I'm with Hawaii's head coach, June Jones. Coach, it was like a tale of 2 quarters. In the first quarter, shovel pass, a lot of runs. Second quarter, more of what we're used to. What are we going to see in the third and the fourth?
Well, the first part of the game there, they were teeing off pretty good, so we had to do some things to mix it up. I think if 3 turnovers is really the difference, but our kids have hung in there pretty good. They know they can move the ball, and we're back in a football game.
Guys?
Okay, Jack, thanks very much. We appreciate Coach sticking around here to visit with us as we go into the third quarter. And do you think Washington defensively, Ed, goes back to that same mode that they started the football game in?
Yeah, they seem to get away from that a little bit, where they stopped blitzing and they started playing some zone, and that's when Hawaii started picking them apart. So, yeah, I would suspect they'd do that. And for Washington, I think they'll just continue to run the ball. If they can get Rankin going, that's going to be the difference for them in the second half.
It's an interesting thing, the point that you bring up, that these kids here here on the islands, they're accustomed to a lot of rain. They actually seem to throw the ball better when we were having the heaviest rainfall.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the highlights of the first half, and it was all about turnovers. 3 fumbles in the first half by Hawaii, and Washington jumped out to a 21-0 lead, but then Hawaii able to get back into the rhythm, and it was all about Rivers. 7 catches, 3 touchdowns. This one, an unbelievable catch that got reviewed. It was first called incomplete, and I think what June Jones was saying, they saw that blitz early, and I would think for Hawaii that they're going to go back to exactly what they saw, and it really was, as Jack said, a tale of 2 quarters. First quarter, those 3 turnovers, and your offense, and they were early in drives too. Through that first quarter, I think they only had about 10 or 11 plays offensively.
So, all right, we talked about what Washington might possibly do, and you think that if they're allowed to do it, that Hawaii will come back and play second quarter football, so to speak.
Yeah, and for Kent Baer, the defensive coordinator, now the choice becomes, we got some pressure early, and you're always afraid you're leaving some people one-on-one on the back end, but, I don't want to stand there and watch these guys throw it in front of me, because Tyrone Willingham said it best. When they're doing that, when they're letting the ball be thrown in front of them, they're missing tackles. And so if you're going to play that back-off defense, you've got to make those tackles, and in the second quarter, Washington was not doing that.
I have a feeling the missed tackles was addressed, and probably very well addressed in the Washington locker room after what the head coach said to Jack down at the sideline as he was coming off the field. Coming down to Lane. Lane's a flyer. Gets to the sideline, and he's all the way back out to the 45-yard line. And let's take a look at the GoDaddy.com game tracker.
Well, you're going to see a big difference in, of course, rush yards and pass yards expected coming into this game. And it's worth noting that Washington had some throws down the field. The notable one there where they turned the ball over on downs, had to punt it away after Russo was missed deep. I think they'll go back to some of that, but Locker has to learn how to get some touch on that ball.
So Libre will open the second half at tailback for Hawaii. And it's a shovel pass to him. 5, 10. Oh, he gets tagged. It's going to be a gain of about 13 yards. That's Roy Lewis, who really came up and put the wood on him.
And what a nice job by Keith Asun, the left tackle. That time, Washington had guys up to defend it, but Asun came in and knocked the defender who was standing there ready to make the play, the linebacker, knocked him right on his backside, and just an excellent job by the left tackle, being an agile guy and getting in and making a nice block.
I think the reaction we saw from the head coach back in the first half was that play was not always being blocked properly, but that's the way he was reacting. Quick pass, got it out on the flat. That's Grice-Mullens. It'll go for very short yardage, and it'll be a 2nd down and 9. Let's take a look at the numbers on Brennan.
Of course, a lot of people in the country. 16 of 16 last 19 passes in a row. And when the NCAA record's 23, so he's getting right there with the shovel pass and the little screen there. So he's about to break another NCAA record. I mean, they're just starting to stack up for Mr. Brennan.
But again, that familiar 3 wide receiver set to the left side. This running play right here is going to go for a loss. It'll be 3rd down and 11. Mason Foster is there defensively. Well, for people watching this ball game tonight, and those that may have never seen Colt Brennan play before, and you wonder what the scouts are saying about him, and in fact, we'll get Desmond Howard, who's here with us tonight, get his comments on what he thinks about Colt and his performance so far, and just how accomplished he is. The scouts say already, yes, he can play on the next level, and he will go in the first round. Third down, they need to take it all the way to the 32-yard line. He's under pressure, and he's going to be sacked at the 48-yard line. And Jordan Reffett, who was injured an arm back in the first half. Do you remember I said we were glad to see him coming back out of the locker room? He's the guy who gets the sack.
And Reffett, a young man who, as a senior, just a good effort play, because ducks down inside. They ran a stunt to the inside, and he ran right by Fea, and just did an excellent job. But Reffett was a guy who took a little while to buy into the system. They were working guys really hard, and Reffett was kind of rebelling against that.
Gresso with the punt. Good high-hanging coverage kick. Going to hit at the 5. Takes a Hawaii bounce and is recovered. Touch dead at the 2-yard line. And it's Keenan Jones who got downfield to make the special teams play.
But a good, as much momentum as Hawaii had, they scored at the end of the half to cut it to 7. And then they come back out, they get the ball back, even though bad field possession. Good stop for Washington defensively.
Excellent stop by them, actually. Blocker 5 of 10, 51 yards, 10 rushes for 61 yards, and a touchdown for Locker. Straight ahead with the running play by Lewis Rankin. Lewis had an outstanding first half. That's now 13 carries for him for 108 yards as Elamimian makes the tackle for Hawaii.
And he's having a great senior year. He's into the top 5 for single season, just past Greg Lewis, and he's nipping on Napoleon Kaufman's heels at number 4.
Blocker takes it to the left, turns the corner, and that is Rankin who was out there blocking, and there is a flag down.
Yeah, I think they may have gotten Marcel Reese on a hold.
Well, the field position was bad enough to begin with, and at least they're in the territory.
On the offense, number 3, after the distance to the goal, remains second down.
It's right on the edge, and this is the type of play, minus the holding call, of course, that I think Washington needs to start developing more for Jake Locker. There was a throw element there. There was 2 receivers down the field running stride for stride with him, but if it's there and you've got basically a lead back with your running back, I think these are the type of plays that they need to continue to develop and make for this young quarterback.
Well, going to be a free play for Washington. Locker's going to run it, and he will only pick up about 3 yards, but it was Purcell who had jumped offside, trying to anticipate rather than keeping an eye on the football. And Hawaii is somewhat starting the third quarter the same way they did the first quarter, and that is a lack of focus.
Defense, number 12, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
And now you give basically what was that run play for Locker, and you get into a second down situation that plays into the hands of Washington. I would think quarterback run here, although he's under center, so it makes you think that this is going to be a Rankin zone read type of play.
Second down and short. Rankin hit hard at the line of scrimmage. I don't think he's going to have the first down. It's going to be very close. Elamimian again on the stop. Solomon, a junior out of Los Angeles. And you see number 32 come into the lineup. Luke Kravitz, junior out of Olympia, Washington.
And Kravitz, the short yardage back. And that's where he's going to line up. With Paul Homer in front of him, I would expect something just downhill, an ISO-type play between the tackles.
And they give it to the first man through, not going to have it. Tried to cross him up. Homer, who normally is the blocker, but he scored the touchdown on that same play back in the second quarter. That time it's Purcell and Watson who double up on him and hold him.
It's the penetration that does this, and that's the quickest way. Just Keala Watson did an unbelievable job of lowering his pads and getting upfield. He's the one first on the attack on Homer, and on that short run, that's the way you stop it. Nice job by Watson.
Jared Ballman in the ballgame to punt. This is another dandy. Very, very high. Spiral gathered at the 44. Big opening. And Bess, who we have not heard a great deal from tonight, contributes very large on this punt return, and great field position for Hawaii. 18 yards on the return. Howell makes the tackle. So watch the celebration after the stop on third down by Hawaii. 28-21 Washington.
The guys back home won't believe we hiked up Mount Willie on
It's a Willie and Nana no, wait.
Hey, however you say it, the proof is in the geotag, my friend.
Well, Pukalukalaka. I just made that up.
Really?
Taco Bell's Chipotle Grilled Stuffed Burrito, loaded with marinated carne asada steak, Chipotle seasoned rice, all covered in a spicy Southwest Chipotle sauce.
You want a bite?
Good.
Here, you gotta try this.
For taste, not fire, think outside the bun.
Trade up. NASDAQ.
The Dow is up 6 points in light to moderate trading as analysts switch to wholesale pricing
Trade up. NASDAQ.
This telecast is available on ESPN2 HD, presented by Pioneer Kuro HD TV. Pressure. Brennan going down at the 40-yard line. It's going to be a loss of 2. Teo Nisheim is the man who made the tackle.
Daniel played over at Hawaii Prep. Just a sophomore, and the coaches are so excited about his future. He's got ability. He's a long, rangy guy, but the only thing greater than his ability is his effort. This young man never stops. They don't have to bring him off the field either. They'll put him down inside sometimes on pass rush situations over the center.
Second down and 12. Brennan, quick pass. Got it complete. There's the guy that's already scored a couple of touchdowns, Jason Rivers. And let's go down to the sideline in Jackaroo.
Hey, fellas, it started out for Colt Brennan as a way to try to win the friendship of his Samoan teammates. But then it's turned out to be an advantage to the offense here for the Hawaiian Warriors. Believe it or not, Colt Brennan calls out a lot of his audibles in Samoan. He said, I learned the language. I started to pick it up. He says, I get kind of funny about it because I get up there and there's one audible where I go, pizza, pizza, pizza. And he says, I kind of hope that the defensive front four think, is that pepperoni or is that sausage?
Oh, Jack. Oh, with lots of cheese. Brennan slides, got a man wide open, end zone, in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, and that was Devon Best. Oh my goodness. We were talking about he has not had a huge night like he always does, and he had that one for 6 and he dropped it.
Well, and they saw exactly what they wanted. They saw a free safety playing man coverage on Devon Best, and Brennan slipped. This is what he saw. He saw a safety on Best, and that's just a mismatch. And Brennan slipped in his drop. Had he not slipped, this is a touchdown all the way. And, of course, Devon's got to make that play. The ball is there on time. Nate Williams.
Your first charge timeout.
Hawaii takes a timeout, but Nate Williams got there late, but Best should make that catch.
So there's a timeout. Our score continues 28-21. Huskies.
I'm Chad Johnson, and I am.
And we are back at his 4th down, and I mean just inches on the 4th down play. And obviously, Hawaii is going to go for it inside the Washington 30-yard line. That's Bess in motion. Option. Pitches it back, got the first down and more. Libre tackled inside the 25.
Well, I like the fact that Hawaii went for it on 4th down here. You're in that territory where it's a very long field goal, and a punt wouldn't gain you anything if you kicked it in. But you don't really expect to see the option out of Hawaii now, do you? I was thinking, Estes is such a fine center. I was thinking they'd go with a quarterback sneak, although Brennan's right at about 200 pounds. He's not a big, powerful guy, but boy. I mean, you can't, if you're Washington, you're not ready to defend that. What a great call by June Jones.
So Libre back in the ball game at tailback, and it's 1st down at the 24. Brennan, quick pass, thrown a little bit short, and that is the first. Well, we got a flag down?
Yep. I think we're going to get, looks like it's in that holding area.
Holding on the offense, number 55. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Remains 1st down.
Well, of course, when you say someone's a fine player, they get holding, which is what happened with John Estes there.
John is begging that you not mention his name again.
That throw there, though, by Brennan, one of the things that, in talking to some of the scouts I talked about and of course, scouts are looking for negative stuff. That's their job. NFL scouts want to look for negatives. But, he does have that kind of side throwing arm, and occasionally it'll get away from him, and he'll have little bouts of inaccuracy. Not long ones, but little bouts, and that's one of the concerns they have.
Grice-Mullens in motion, draw play, right up the middle, not much going for Daniel Libre. And he will be stopped at the 33-yard line by E.J. Savannah.
But it was interesting talking to June Jones about, of course, June knows a thing or two about NFL quarterbacks, being one himself and coaching for a long time as an offensive coordinator and a head coach at that level. He said, scouts come in and they want to tear people down. That's their job. They're looking for negatives. He said it's when the coaches in the NFL start studying the film that he thinks Colt's stock is going to go up in the draft, because the coaches will realize, but look at his productivity. Look at his timing. Look how he sees the field.
Again from the shotgun, good protection, stepping up, feels the pressure, and then is caught from behind by Teo Nessan.
Of course, in the NFL, this would be a penalty because you're not allowed to grab from behind the pads, but in college, you are. And we've been talking about Teo Nessan's effort. He just never gives up, and he's got really, the first thing I noticed when I started watching Teo Nessan on film was how long his arms are. And as a former offensive lineman, I can tell you that is...
You see the position that the player comes down in? Rules Committee, I know none of you are up at this hour, but please outlaw that for college football as well.
It is a dangerous
play. It is just an unnatural thing where your back gets taken in the wrong direction, and then your legs with it. Brennan still looking back over the middle and incomplete. Intended for Jason Rivers. Nate Williams making the cover, and what do you do on this one?
You're at a 50-yarder, which Dan Kelly can't kick, but Dan Kelly, their kicker, hurt his kicking foot last week against Boise State. It was black and blue. He was in a boot, but they're going to. This might be on the edge of what he can do with that bad foot.
Grasso, who is the punter, is the holder, number 49. And we'll see if that injured foot will allow him to kick one from 50 yards or not. From the far hash mark, ball is down plenty of distance. And he missed it. So we'll hold it right here with 6 minutes and 31 seconds left to play third quarter, and our score remains the Huskies 28 and Hawaii 21.
Well, and give a lot of credit to Washington defensively. That's 2 times in a row, starting out the third quarter, that they've gotten stops with no points. It felt like going in at half, Hawaii may come out and just go up and down the field, and that has not been the case.
Looked as though his plant foot slipped just a little bit. What they should have done is they should have moved it a yard further back, because he's perfect from 50 and beyond, 2 and 2. He has all 4 of his misses have come between the 40 and the 49. This is big Marcel Reese on the reception, and he's going to have a gain of 2.5. Jack Arute, what do you got for us?
Well, Ron, the guy that smiled the broadest smile when that field goal went wide was the head coach of the Washington Huskies, Tyrone Willingham. You could see it from all the way the other side of the sidelines. He ran up to his offense before they went out for this series, and he really tried to get him pumped up off of that. In fact, all of a sudden, they were all smiling as well. They sense maybe momentum has shifted just a little bit with them.
Well, you could be right, Jack. We'll see if they get the fire going again on this one. He's going to hold on to it, and Locker, somebody just ran right by him, and he is going to have about 6 yards in the play. It'll be third down, actually more likely 4.
Locker, it looks like, he wants to come out. I think we saw Brennan get the wind knocked out of him earlier in the game. I'm not so sure that you can tell by him trying to catch his breath that looks like that may happen, and Carl Bonnell will come into the game because I think Locker took a shot in the sternum and can't catch his breath right now.
Carl, the senior out of Kent, Washington, we showed you his very good poise and presence as the holder to take a delay of game rather than get a bad snap.
Looked like Locker fell on the ball, which is what knocked the wind out of him.
Third down, they need to take it to the 42-yard line. Bonnell under pressure, going to try to run, and he will, and he'll have the first down. He went diving for the first at the 44-yard line, and Myron Newberry finally put a stop on it.
Well, it's nice that Carl Bonnell can get into the game. The fifth-year senior, he's been through so much. He had an awful, awful shoulder injury in his left shoulder, missed all of off-season workouts, almost didn't come back for this his senior year, knowing that the keys to the offense were going to be turned over to Jake Locker.
Well, they beat Washington State last year, didn't they?
Yeah, he sure did, and played lights out against Washington State last year. So
that's their first conversion of a third down situation. They're 1 of 7. Straight ahead, and I'll tell you what, Louis Rankin is not stopping, and on a second and a third effort on first down, that's a gain of almost 10 yards. Jack Arute, you got more on quarterback Jake Locker.
Yeah, you guys were absolutely 100% spot on. He fell on that ball. He lost his breath. The trainers came over, and I thought this was kind of interesting. I'm going to try it the next time I get the breath knocked out of me. Put his hands above his helmet and made him breathe deeply. Ron, I think it will calm us all down.
I'm doing it now. I'm doing it.
In, out.
Hey, watch for Bonnell here. He's the better thrower of the two quarterbacks. On second and short, maybe taking a long throw.
Under 4 minutes to play, third quarter. Straight ahead, big opening, Rankin. Rankin is going to have that ball all the way down inside the 35-yard line. And this is the pattern that spelled doom for Hawaii back in the first quarter. Lewis finally on the stop.
Excuse me, Ron. One of the things the Washington coaches have been working with is when you see the hole, get into the hole. And Rankin is a wonderful open field runner, but one of the problems he's had throughout his career is in the backfield, he shuffles too many times. And you saw right there, as soon as he saw that hole, he accelerated. He has wonderful acceleration, so once he sees it, he just needs to hit it.
Robert Lewis in motion. Rankin has 5, has 8, and now 9 yards. And the ball went back to Bonnell, and they're going to say the play was alive. Well, let's see. I'm watching a replay that we have here.
This does not look like a fumble to me because he lands and the ball comes out. So I would think they may review this.
Yeah, you could tell with the replay that the ball came down on the turf and then squirted out. So it should be forward progress to where. And Jack Arute, let's check in with you. You had a better look at it.
Well, I was about five yards away from it. In fact, I thought I was going to get caught up in it, and there's no question, guys. That was a fumble. It was picked up and advanced, so I think this is going to be overturned.
Well, I think the spot was about the 22 where he landed. So
you thought it was coming out, huh, Jack?
Oh, without question. It was out. I mean, it was out, but he was already down. So I think you're going to have to really look at this. But again, I don't have the luxury of all those high-dollar monitors that you guys have upstairs.
Jack, we just looked at it again, and we've got one of those little bitty things that you put in a kid's bedroom. But
I'll
Jack,
get you a big one for Christmas.
That's not a fumble. It's not a fumble. That should come back should be spotted back to where he made contact with the artificial surface.
If Carl Bennell is still in the game now, he's gotten the flow a little bit.
Yeah, he has.
You know, you haven't had a vertical passing game. You've had a couple of tries down the field. Of course, Locker with Russo had a miscommunication, and then he overthrew him when he was open. But Bennell has had some very good games throwing the ball. You mentioned the Washington State game last year, threw for almost 300 yards.
Here comes the call.
The play was reversed. The player was down before he fumbled. It'll be second down, 1 yard to go on the 23-yard line.
And so you sit here at second down with 1 yard to go. And, you know, Washington has been very conservative with Locker in the game, as they should be. I think that's the right plan. But with Bennell, if he is, in fact, the quarterback who comes back out on second and short, I think this may be a chance for you to try a play action and try to get Grice or Russo open towards the end zone.
And Jack, let's check back with you.
Yeah, guys, I just saw something I haven't seen. Greg McMahon, the defensive coordinator, during that review, was all the way out in the defensive huddle. I'm not sure if that's beyond the 25-yard boundaries or not, guys.
Yeah. Well, Santa Claus has been out there. Why can't Greg go out there? They arrested Santa Claus, though, didn't they? Brandon Johnson is the tailback. Second down and short. See Hawaii crowding the line of scrimmage. Rankin, just enough of an opening, and he will take it for the first down. And let's go down to Desmond Howard. Desmond?
I'm standing right here. The fumble, the alleged fumble happened right in front of me. But what happened is his elbow touched the ground first, and then the ball popped out. So I knew it wasn't a fumble. But I'm telling you, what Washington is doing right now, catching Hawaiian blitzes. And once you get past that first line of defense, it's clear green pastures for the running back. And that's what they're taking advantage of so far.
Okay, Desmond. We got a first down for the Huskies at the 19-yard line of Hawaii. Again, it's Johnson. And Johnson breaks a tackle and then gets knocked down hard as he crosses the 15 by Eric Robinson.
Johnson, a true freshman who Washington didn't really have a clear-cut second-string running back for most of the season. Went back and forth. Curtis Shaw, of course, has been moved to wide receiver. He was in that mix. J.R. Hasty was in that mix, exactly. and this young man has separated himself, and he comes out, and Rankin comes back in.
If you stop and think about it, just before we did the Ohio State game, he had been injured in practice the week before, and I think it's taken him a while to come full health cycle. Straight ahead, this time it is Rankin. Elimimian is there to make the tackle.
Hey, Desmond, can you feel this? You know, you got an unbeaten season. You've seen so much crazy stuff on the College Game Day set. Can you feel this slipping away a little bit maybe for Hawaii?
It seems that way right now. It's still kind of early. We're going to have, a minute 40 left in the third quarter. We know this team, Hawaii can score quick, but they can't stop Washington, and that's the problem. Washington is running the ball down their throat, and at the same time, they're eating up the clock. That's why I said in the first half, that's a dangerous combination.
Play action, pressure coming from the backside, and he just throws that one away, and look what just happened. On a third down, that's going to be holding against the Huskies. Boy, boy, boy.
Well, and because the ball was thrown away, it would be fourth down. So
I'll tell you what, with those two battering rams, though, I certainly wouldn't decline this penalty.
No, I think
it's going to come from the spot of the foul.
I agree. I think you take the penalty. It's too short on be 4th and 2.5 or so. I think you're right. I think you take this penalty.
Blaze Soares is the man who was applying the pressure. We haven't talked a lot about him tonight.
Yeah.
Holding on the offense, number 81. 10 yards from the previous spot, remains third down.
And it was the speed of Soares that Robert Lewis, the tight end, couldn't keep up with. And they told us that Blaze could blaze. This is a very fast linebacker, and they expect big things. Big hitter,
young man, as well.
And again, Carl Bunnell in, Jake Locker out. I think this may be a choice by the coaches to leave Bunnell in for a little bit. This drive has been moving pretty well.
Hawaii's not up to the ball. They are just now moving their defense over. They were standing in the middle of the field. Third down, the line to make is the 9-yard line of Hawaii. Corner blitz coming. Ball thrown low, and very wisely so. Soares and Eliminian both coming pell-mell after the quarterback.
And give Greg McMackin a lot of credit. I wonder if he went out in that huddle, the player said, hey, coach, can we blitz a couple of times and get him out of a rhythm? He went out for a meeting on the field. That was an excellent job of Greg McMackin bringing pressure against a quarterback who wasn't quite into the game.
So we set a field goal here. It's going to be placed down at the 28-yard line, a 38-yard attempt. Perkins out of the hold of Bunnell. The kick is partially blocked. It's low. It'll go out of the back of the end zone.
Well, that's the third blocked field goal against Washington. And remember Ohio State. Remember when Ohio State blocked that kick and all that momentum changed? Well, Josh Leonard gets credit for the block, but a lot of that has to do with the trajectory of Ryan Perkins' kick. It's a great snap and a great hold by Bunnell, and his plant foot slipped a little bit, and he just had such a funny motion. Perkins had 2 ACL surgeries after the spring of '06, and his motion just looked funny. I mean, give credit for Leonard for being there, but that's a very low kick.
I'm not so sure that Leonard blocked it with his arm. I'm not so sure it didn't hit his head.
Yeah, it was that low.
Brennan looking, quick throw, got it complete to Rivers. Rivers steps out of bounds immediately. It's going to be a gain of 8.
You know, Jason Rivers, because Grice-Mullens and Devon Best get so much of the notoriety. And you sometimes forget that Rivers coming into the game was averaging over 90 yards receiving per game. And Jack gave that report about that Sheraton Hawaii Bowl last year against Arizona State. They ran off 24 unanswered points in the second half. This guy had 308 receiving yards in that game. Just exploded.
9 catches for 91 tonight. Best in motion. Washington showing blitz, but they stay at home, and they throw it out to Grice-Mullens. Far side still fighting, and with the second effort, he is going to have the first down.
You know, we got to visit with Ryan Grice-Mullens and Devon Best yesterday, and they're both Californians. They are not from Hawaii, but they have become the PR team for this program. They are the guys who want to be hosts to recruits who come here. And of course,
you know what else is interesting? What they talked about primarily is they love the diversity on this football team and the fact that the Polynesian kids have really taught them a lot as far as being selfless and getting along. End of the third quarter. So as we head to the final 15 minutes, we're going to take a timeout. No scoring in the third quarter. Huskies continue to lead it 28-21. Well, it's amazing after you look at the 49 points scored in the first half and nothing tallied in the third quarter. So let's see what happens here in the final 15. Can Hawaii keep their record unblemished? They got 15 minutes to show us they can. Brennan wheels it sidearm, has it complete, and that's number 2, C.J. Hawthorne. Haven't called his name since back in the first quarter.
Well, we should make sure we keep in perspective how big this game is. This is the biggest game. Of course, last week's game against Boise State, when they clinched their first ever outright WAC championship, was the biggest game in program history, and then this became that. BCS bowl bid on the line with what happened above and around them today. you've got to think if Hawaii wins, they will be headed to the BCS, most likely the Sugar. So there's quite a few things on the line here for Hawaii.
Second down and short. Got it complete. That's Grice-Mullens. He did some backtracking, but actually going to give him forward progress enough for the first down. Jackaroo.
Well, guys, because June Jones has that NFL background, the one thing that he did is they started to take a look at the stretch run to an undefeated season. He reminded his players that each and every game was like a playoff. He said, we played in the wild card playoff, then we played for the division playoff, and then we played for the conference playoff. He said, this is the conference playoff tonight. He said, this will get us to our Super Bowl. That would be a BCS bowl berth, most likely, if they make it, the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. They've had some Super Bowls there.
Well, at Thursday's practice, is this ball thrown complete to Bess, and Bess on the second effort will pick up the first down. And the crowd really reacts. He is one of the favorite sons on this ball club. But at Thursday's practice, they work out between 7 and 9 a.m. on Thursdays, and there were close to 400 people at St. Louis High School to watch them work out.
You know, that's one of the things June Jones has done since he got here back in 1999, was wanted a big atmosphere around the team. Anytime media wants to come and go in the huddle or mic up their quarterback, he lets them do that. He learned it from Jerry Glanville because it gets guys ready for the spotlight when it shows up.
I'm not so sure this is not a broken play, as Colt Brennan took the ball and just rolled out to the left, and Gunheim was right there applying pressure.
We'll take a look at Hawaii's receivers. The one that's shocking to me is Devon Bess, one catch for 13 yards. Jason Rivers, who's kind of the quiet one of the bunch, having a huge night. 3 touchdowns on just 9 catches, but Bess finally starting to get in there. He is so good after the catch. Maybe try to get him in some kind of screens or something. He's so good in the open field with the ball in his hands.
Second down and 11. Brennan, this side of the field, not going to pick up very much as he throws it to Bess. And now it's going to be a third down, and they're still going to need about 8 yards.
And Devon Bess shows you why June Jones speaks so highly of him. Just a junior, but he has great catching range, and what June Jones means by that is bad throws, he makes catches with his hands. He has such good, powerful, but soft hands that no matter where the ball is placed, he can go get it. Doesn't have to cradle it with his body to make the catch.
He said an interesting thing yesterday when we visited with both him and Grice-Mullens. Always the other guy. In other words, it's never you. Give credit to the other guy. Pass caught. First down. Rivers.
This offense is so fascinating to watch, and it's so frustrating if you're trying to defend it. You try as much as possible to disguise your coverage until the last possible moment. But these guys are all running routes based on what they're seeing. You see the cornerback drop out, and so the coverage dictates that Rivers is going to come underneath of that because the corner backed out for deep, and that's exactly what the quarterback sees, so he curls it up and you get an easy completion.
75% of their passing game, the decision is made about a second and a half after the ball is snapped. Brennan going to run it. Look at Bess coming back to block for him, and he's going to wind up with a gain of about 5 yards in the play. And let's go down to Desmond again. Desmond Howard.
Yeah, these receivers, you were right. They run these routes based on what they see from the defense. I spoke to Devon and CJ earlier in the week, and they said that the defender can never be right. Whatever, if he's in line up inside, they're going to do an out route. The thing about it, what makes it so special is that they don't even have to communicate that with the quarterback. Colt already knows what they're going to do based on the defender's alignment. So they say the defender is never right in this situation.
Well, they've proven a lot to be wrong. You're exactly right, Desmond. Timeout called by Washington, and we'll take the timeout with them. 12-17 left in our ball game. Still a 7-point Washington lead.
Just one ride.
IBM presents the 25 greatest players ever. Number 3, Herschel Walker. From his first college game, Walker immediately took the SEC by storm, leading Georgia to the 1980 national title. The Bulldogs were 33-3 with Herschel in the backfield, and he was voted consensus All-American in each of his 3 seasons. IBM, getting it done.
I don't think you'll get a lot of argument out of anybody on his selection. Certainly you would expect him to be there. It's Bess in motion, but they give it to Libre, the running back. He's going to be caught behind the line of scrimmage. And now a huge play coming up as Dan Howell made a great defensive stop. It is going to be 3rd down and 10. Now, this could turn into a very, very big thing as far as Hawaii is concerned and the outcome of this ball game.
Well, you have to think that June Jones is considering, if they don't get it, going for it on 4th. So you're at 3rd and let's call it 9.
Let me give you some numbers on Colt. 5 of his first 9 completed, 20 of his next 20. Then he went 0 for 2, and now 7 in a row.
So with trying to get to 8 in a row, you may want to try a screen here to one of the receivers on the top and see if you can cut this down to 1 or 2 yards.
Blitz off the corner. They throw it. Is it caught? The official says no. Caught at the 24-yard line by Hawthorne, but he said he did not have his feet inbounds.
And you're at a 48, we'll call it, yard field goal. And we have already seen a miss by Dan Kelly. So June Jones looking like he's going to go for it. That was awfully close. I'm not so sure that was not a catch.
This is an interesting crew.
Yeah. Well, Dan Kelly's going to come out right now. And there's plenty of time left. It's not like Hawaii has to have a touchdown right now. Nobody has scored here in the second half. So you can expect his defense to hold up. But Kelly with that banged up foot. Let's see how it holds up.
Boy. I thought that was a catch. This is a 48-yard attempt. That is way wide right.
And Kelly kicked the turf again like his foot slipped. I'm not so sure that severely bruised right foot is not really bothering him.
But if you're slipping on the turf, you should say something to the head coach on a long field goal attempt like that, shouldn't you?
Yeah. Let's see if his plant foot does, in fact. Sure did. Yeah, he slid forward. And you know what? That's an equipment issue. When that right foot is really bothering him. He got it stepped on against Boise State after an extra point, and when he tried to pull it back, it stretched his foot. But his plant foot slipped, and he's got a painful foot. If I'm Hawaii, I don't know if I'm trying any more field goals the rest of the way out.
Well, Locker is back in the ball game at quarterback after being shaken up. It's Gottlieb in motion. Locker throws this one a mile too far. Russo, the intended receiver. Newberry was back on the cover.
I don't understand that call. You know, you've got a quarterback who's really struggling getting the ball down the field. He has all season. And you're going to waste a first down and not run the clock. You've got to be melting this thing.
You stole my thought. I mean, what you got to do right now is you have got to milk the clock. You're in a great position right now, particularly if you get even 3 more points to win this football game.
And now you're behind the sticks, 2nd and 10.
Rivers throws it. Or Locker, I beg your pardon. And it's Corey Williams. First time that we've called his name tonight. Senior out of Las Vegas, number 18. So it is now 3rd down. They need to take it out to the 41-yard line. 28-21. We've just gone under 11 minutes to play in our ball game.
It feels to me like as this game has gone down that Washington may be the one that's playing a little tighter now than Washington. Let's see what this play call is.
That completed pass just a moment ago was the first completion by Washington in the second half. Blitz coming off the corner. Locker wants to run, throws this one too high. Whoa, that could have been picked off. Marcel Reese was the intended receiver.
And Locker should have tucked it and gone. He had a defender in the area, but he's elusive enough to make guys miss. And he fired it too hard. There was no touch, but he should have tucked this. I believe that he could have picked up the first down. And now, Hawaii, if they get any type of return, will end up with very good field position.
Devon Bess is the deep man on the punt. Let's see if he can contribute. It's not been a great night for him so far. No place to go, and he's going to be tackled at the 27-yard line. That's excellent coverage by Washington. Gunheim makes the tackle. We'll take a timeout. Huskies by a touchdown.
Dougie. What?
Have you seen how easy GoDaddy.com is?
Huh?
Yeah, I just bought you for $1.99.
Did not.
Yeah, I did.
Dog nabbit.
Whoops, just did your dog.
Mr. Winky? My wife loves Mr. Winky.
Ah, now I'm gonna do your wife.
Your mother.
You know I'm gonna do your mother now.
Too late. I already did my mother.
Pervert.
Where's shopping mall? There's shopping mall. Things that are small, pops big and tall. Where's Chinese food? There's Chinese food. Spicy chicken wing, chicken almond ding.
Ding dong.
Traffic's a mess. There's no distress. Find underway with no delay. Bluetooth is on. Call the salon. Need a waxing now. Got a unibrow. Give a Garmin. Give a Garmin. Screen clear and wide. Whole world inside. Garmin.com. Garmin.com.
Bowl Mania. Get the breakdown on the bowl games. Our guys will dissect all 32 games from the locks to the toss-ups. Bowl Mania, Saturday at 9 Eastern on ESPN.
Everywhere we go, our new lower auto insurance rates are saving people big money. Wow.
Switch, and we'll handle the paperwork to close out your old policy.
Rates even lower than before. Discover the AIG Advantage. Call for your money-saving auto insurance quote today.
At Chiroplan Hawaii, we're specialists in you.
You're the one.
You're the reason we're locally owned and managed.
You're the reason we have more than 60 clinics.
Statewide.
You're the reason our care is affordable.
You're the reason we care for you like family.
At Chiroplan Hawaii, we're specialists in you.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by GoDaddy.com, world's #1 in .com domains. Make a .com name with us.
Christmas in Hawaii. Oh, the lights are very beautiful downtown. In fact, one of the opening Christmas parades was earlier this evening in the area that we're staying in. First down and 10. Brennan still looking, and obviously got no help from his receivers. Give credit to the secondary of Washington. They were just locked on him.
This is about the first time as we take a look at what is called the all-22, because we can see all 22 players. As we let this roll, there's just nowhere to go. There was an early one down here, but Brennan was being pressured. Best was open there for a second, but that's where your pressure and your coverage works together. Sometimes guys will break open, but if you're getting pressure, the quarterback can't see it because he's running around.
I think it was Grice-Mullens who had cut back over the middle, or back toward the middle, I should say, and was open just a little bit. At that time, Brennan was caught. Gets decked as the ball is thrown complete. Flag comes down, and there is a flag. It's going to be roughing the passer. Personal foul called against Washington.
Well, and I believe they threw a flag at the spot of the catch as well. And because of the Washington players, couldn't quite see what was happening there.
He's on the play. On Washington, we have a personal foul roughing the passer. Hawaii's receiver went out on his own and was first to touch the ball. That's illegal touching. Those penalties offset.
What a big break. What an absolute huge break for Washington, because what looked like a nice gain and a 15-yard penalty, which would have been put on top of that. That is an absolute late hit, and they should call that on the true freshman Mason Foster. But remember, at this level, if a receiver is forced out, he could come back in and be the first to touch it. But if he goes out on his own, he cannot come in and be the first to make a play on the ball.
So it's still second down and 12 from the 25. Brennan Flashes this one out to Bess. Bess has the first down, and he'll pick up 5 more as he takes it to the 42-yard line.
Well, that was a nice little pick they threw, but again, you see the wonderful hands of Devon Bess. Of course, Bess, one of the guys who had some trouble earlier in his life. He was incarcerated for helping some friends unwisely move some stolen property, and it was June Jones who actually stood up for him without even meeting him, because he'd never been in trouble before, and June just took trust that he was a good young man, and Devon Bess has dedicated his career to not letting June Jones down. He is a nice kid who learned his lesson.
Colt Brennan throws it complete. There's Bess again down to Jackaroo.
You know, guys, we were talking about June Jones's NFL pedigree, right? Well, I asked June Jones who Colt Brennan reminded him of. And he very quickly said 2 quarterbacks, Jeff George and Dan Marino. And I said, why? He says, because of Brennan's throwing motion and his quick release. One thing that I don't remember either of those guys being very good about, though, is being able to tuck, duck, and run with the ball.
And Brennan can do that. I mean, he's a fairly athletic guy, but the Jeff George analogy, I think, Jeff George had one of the best arms in the history of the game, but he did have that kind of sidearm throwing motion.
So it's second down. Another quick pass, this one off the mark. Grice-Mullens is the fella he wanted. You heard the groan from the crowd. That's how spoiled they are. They groan when there's an incompletion.
You know, it was funny when we were talking to Colt Brennan about this offense, and he said, you know, sometimes we can freewheel a little bit. They've been in this system now. This is his 3rd year starting. And he said it's all based on completions. If the ball is complete, Coach Jones doesn't complain. The second there's an incomplete, he says, all right, let's go back to the way we're supposed to be doing this, guys. He only gets upset when there's incompletions.
3rd down, they need to take it to the 48.5-yard line of Washington. Huskies still lead it, 28-21. Blitz coming off the corner. Brennan steps up, throws it, has it complete at the 40-yard line, and it's Grice-Mullens. Rayford coming with a great deal of pressure. Cesar could not get there quite in time.
Well, and this is exactly what June Jones is talking about when the NFL coaches, when their season is over and they come to start watching film, they'll see plays like this. He hung in there, worked the pocket, goes sideways, eyes downfield the whole time. Notice how he never looked at the rush. His eyes were always down the field, and the good ones feel the rush. They don't have to look at it.
Well, it's a first down, and they have spotted it at the 40-yard line of the Huskies. Gonna go long, deep over the middle. Has a man. Touchdown, Jason Rivers. Jason Rivers has really had himself a good ball game tonight, and he is reminding me of exactly what the other 2 wide receivers talked about, and that is to be selfless. Because, as you mentioned, he has been very quiet and very selfless in this game, but he's in double figures on receiving of touchdown passes.
And now you're sitting here with a tied ball game, and that was one of the first times that Colt Brennan has had a really good pocket to stand in. That took a while to get going, and he found Rivers, ended up one-on-one on Darren Harris, a safety. And how many times have we seen tonight this offense likes to pick on safeties, because you don't expect when you end up in a one-on-one situation. Rivers is just he sees the safety, stay to the inside. Did you see how he all of a sudden straightened out his route? He's running his route based on what Harris, the safety, does. Harris was late getting over the top, so you straighten it out. Brennan sees the same thing and cannot throw a better ball than that. Dropped it right into his lap.
Well, that's a great example of watching him read as the play developed, and he and the quarterback, that's how these veteran receivers in Hawaii are totally on the same page with Colt.
Washington better be ready for this crowd when they come back on offense. I think they should leave Locker under center, put Rankin in there, and run downhill at Hawaii and try to get some of this momentum back.
Interesting for those of you who have never been to Hawaii, or particularly since Colt has been playing out here, everywhere you look going down the street, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids are wearing jerseys that have number 15 on it. And look at this. That's Kravitz, who is a fullback who breaks that kick return out across the 35. Jack Aru.
Hey, Ron, it's not just the crowd that's gotten back into this game. The momentum, as you guys have said, has shifted over to the Hawaii sideline. During that long touchdown pass, you could see all of the offensive players for the Washington Huskies watching the diamond vision on the far side at one end zone, the opposite side. And you could just see that it was like they had taken the wind right out of their sails. This is going to be a critical drive for the Huskies. I know that's an understatement, but they've got to get some emotion back.
Well, the person who can take it away is Rankin, and they hand him the football, and he hammers his way straight up the middle, and he'll have 2 yards, and that's it. Lapaela.
It's interesting talking to Greg McMackin, the Hawaii defensive coordinator. Of course, drastic improvement statistically this year, going from the 3-4 of Jerry Glanville to the 4-3 that Greg likes to coach. But he said it's times like this in games that our defense has made stops and made plays when we need it the most. They consistently, in moments just like this, throughout the year in close games, have made stops and made plays.
Elamimian, the mid linebacker, getting everybody set up front. Back to throw, Locker zips one over the middle. That's Russo. And Russo, very quick indeed, makes the catch and turns forward to pick up the first down. We'll see every matchup of each bowl game announced Sunday night on the Bowl Selection Special as host Reese Davis and analyst Kurt Herbstreit, Lee Corso, Lou Holtz, and Mark May announce and analyze each bowl game. See coaches and player interviews and reactions, ESPN.com polls, viewer feedback, and more on the Bowl Selection Special presented by Jack Links on ESPN Sunday at 8 Eastern. Rankin again puts his shoulder down. He's not going to have very much at all as Adam Leonard is there to make the tackle. Just take a look at the BCS standings.
Well, shocker. We had more turnover on the top. These two guys are done. You got to expect Ohio State's going to move up. Now the question becomes Georgia, Kansas in the conversation, Virginia Tech, LSU, believe it or not, gets back into the conversation with a win today over a ranked Tennessee team. And Hawaii sitting there at 12, which is the number they need if they can stay there or above to get an automatic BCS berth.
Flag goes down, and Hawaii has given Washington a free down here. They stepped offside, and Locker running to the sideline and finally gets shoved out of bounds at around the 41-yard line by Leonard.
Watching this young man run and the struggles he has throwing it, of course, they're going to work very hard in the offseason with Jake Locker and try to develop some touch and a feel for the deep throws.
Well, the flag, as I said, is offsides against Hawaii.
You want the penalty or?
No, I think that Washington will take the result of the play, which was a first down. But
offside defense. That penalty was refused. They'll take the result of the play.
But if Locker, listen, he's a redshirt freshman. He's going to be the guy playing quarterback for a while. I think they've got to start looking at, he ran the wing tee in high school. And as crazy as this sounds, and there's a lot of offenses in the country that are kind of going to that run-based quarterback offense, I think they should start developing things for this guy more and more to keep the ball in his hands, because that's where his talent is.
Rankin again, and this time he is met head-on right at the line of scrimmage by Elamimian. Solomon Elamimian, a junior out of Los Angeles, not real tall at 5'11", 218.
And Washington needs to start getting a little variety going on first down. It's like 1st and 10, we're going to run Rankin between the tackles, and I think Hawaii's starting to pick that up, and now they're behind the sticks. I think they're on that first down, they're going to have to start thinking about some screens or some draws possibly for the quarterback.
Paul Homer in the ball game at fullback. He's a little tired. The shirt tail is out. They try a reverse hit behind the line of scrimmage, and that is Blaze Soares, the young fellow we were talking about, only a sophomore. Anthony Russo had no place to go, And for a 240-pound linebacker to jump on his back, you got to know that that linebacker is pretty doggone quick because Russo can move.
Well, and this took forever to develop, and it was a blitz to the side. They were running the sweep. And a young quarterback may not have noticed that two blitzers were coming to that side. Probably should have checked out of that play.
Third down, the line to make. And they've got to take it down to the 31-yard line. We're tied, 4:46 left in the ball game. Locker, under heavy pressure, breaks one tackle. Now Hicks for the sideline, now throws, and it is caught at the 25-yard line by Quentin Daniels.
Yeah, the Locker was beyond the line of scrimmage. It was really close. And the Washington coaches, the lines judge had to come back to get into position to throw it. But sure, it sure looked to me, our blue line. Nope. Sure wasn't.
Illegal forward pass on the offense, number 10. Quarterback was beyond the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty.
Yeah, the camera angle is not exactly down that blue line, so that angle is not quite perfect. You know, that the camera is not set on the 46-yard line, but it looked to me like he was behind the line of scrimmage.
So it is fourth down, and the punting team has sprinted out on the field for Washington.
And the official was actually behind that who called that, so he didn't have a good angle either.
End over end is the kick. Gathered in at the 12-yard line, and Best tripped up, almost regained his footing, and he takes it out to the 24-yard line.
Well, that was a tough break because where you saw that official, he didn't have a very good angle on it either. And from what we saw, it was awfully close. And it was that close. I wonder if you just leave your laundry in your pocket. And think about what that punt gives the ball back to Hawaii with all of the things that they have on the line.
Hawaii trying to become the third non-BCS team to make it to a BCS bowl game. Of course, Utah and Boise, the other two. And what they got to do right here is either put it in the end zone or kick themselves a field goal. And the field goal has not been a profitable thing for them tonight. Going to go on top. Got a man. Caught at the 45. A move put on by Grice-Mullens. And Grice-Mullens will take it across midfield. And again, Grice-Mullens is shaken up. One of his teammates, that's David Farmer, the tailback, comes over and helps him up.
And how many times have we seen Grice-Mullens and Jason Rivers running against a safety? That's Nate Williams, a safety, a true freshman who they have a lot of hope for, but he is a safety, not used to covering in the open field as much as you have to against Hawaii.
So first down, the new line of scrimmage, the Huskies' 49-yard line. Brennan, other side. Well, look at the second move, and Bess is going to pick up the first down at about 6 yards more. That is incredible as far as a second effort.
Can't talk enough about this program. Talking about June Jones, he's built this program based on the family tradition that is Hawaii and Polynesian culture, and the kids buy into it. You know, Devon Best did not get a lot of balls for the first 3 quarters of this game, but he has hung in there and starting to make a couple of plays when it finally comes his way. He's not pouting at all. You talked about that selfless nature.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's first down at the Washington 36. Brennan, other side, throws it complete. This time it is Rivers. And Rivers thrown down just short of the first down marker.
I think Washington should take a timeout. This is the first time tonight that Colt Brennan has looked completely in his groove. I know he hit 20 passes in a row, but he never looked like he was totally comfortable. He has that vibe now where you see him when he's scary good. That throw to Rivers could not have been better. He knew exactly when Rivers was going to stop, and the ball was on him right when he turned around. He's in great rhythm.
Now that's Bess in motion. Second down, and they need actually less than a yard. Brennan looking. Now throws. Got it complete inside the 20. That's Rivers.
I think Washington should use a timeout here. It's almost like basketball when things start going the wrong way. Listen, you got pressure. Brennan moves out, and not only does he find the receiver, but he throws it to a place where Rivers can catch it, stay in bounds, spin back in, and try to get extra yardage. I mean, Brennan he's a laser right now, and you have to do something. Give your defense a little bit of a rest because they're on their heels completely. If you want to have the Heisman conversation, these are the drives that you have to have if you want to go to New York.
I think if he scores right here, he'll do just that, though, don't you?
I do.
I don't know how many more records he needs to break. And a timeout is called by June Jones. So let's take the timeout. 1:55 left in our ball game. Tied at 28. We'll be right back. Dan Kelly kicks on the far sideline. The situation is it is a 1st and 10 for his teammates. They have the ball at the 17-yard line of the Huskies. Tie ball game at 28. Blitz up the middle. Pass caught at the 10-yard line and then shoved back is Jason Rivers. And the officials say...
Well, they just missed a personal foul on Jordan Reffett. I thought I heard a whistle. And a couple of purple jerseys came in late. One of them was Reffett. I thought I heard a whistle right about there. It stopped, and a couple of guys come bouncing their helmets off of. That was Dan Howell and Jordan Reffett. I'm surprised they didn't get those guys for a late hit.
So it's second down. The new line of scrimmage, the 11-yard line. Colt Brennan has completed 7 of his last 7 passes.
Well, that's the rhythm. You know, he's played well in spurts today.
Reset the clock at 1:21. The 25-second clock did not start. We start from 1:21 and wind.
Let's go back to last year. We were here for the last game of the season against Oregon State, and in this exact same situation, they had a 4th down, and Brennan had an open receiver, and he skipped the ball. And you know, he's grown since then. You could see the frustration. He knew he should have hit it. And a guy who wants to go to New York, it's going to be tough to win it because he's missed almost 3 games this year, but this is the drive where he has to prove he's grown from last season.
Give the ball to Libre. Libre turns the corner. He's at the 5 and goes out of bounds at the 4. Forrester defensively for Washington.
Well, and now if you're Hawaii with 56 seconds left, well, I'm going to take this back. I was going to say you could run the clock and kick the field goal if totally necessary, but let me back up and remember that Dan Kelly is 0 for 2 and he's got an injured foot. So
I have a feeling that what that man right there is thinking, if we could score on this down right here, go ahead and do it. Pull the trigger.
I'm with you. If your kicker was healthy, you may try to make Washington burn a timeout or 2, but you got to score.
1st and goal from the 4-yard line. Brennan hands it off. Libre hit behind the line of scrimmage. He's got to be knocked down for a yard loss by Savannah.
And now Hawaii Washington has to take their timeout.
Tell you what, while we got the timeout, let's take a look at our game track.
Well, and this is exactly what we've been talking about. Was the 2 missed field goals by Dan Kelly. Both times his plant foot slipped, but you could tell that injured right foot was in pain. And then our only touchdown so far in the second half, a beautifully thrown ball to Jason Rivers. And what an unbelievable night for Rivers, the senior. Possibly the last night that they'll play in this building. I say that because if they were to lose, they would most likely come back here and play in the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl.
Yeah.
But if it is the last night, if you're Jason Rivers, how would you like to go out with 14 catches, 167 yards, and every touchdown your team has had so far, all 4 of them? Pretty nice night for a senior.
That's almost too gaudy for Hollywood, isn't it? And let's go down to Jackaroo. Jack.
Guys, you think that right now there'd be a lot of pressure on June Jones, certainly a lot of pressure on his quarterback, Colt Brennan. When they were just over here, they actually carried on a conversation like one coach to the other. No emotion, just going through what they could do, what they might do, what they should do. Then all of a sudden, Colt Brennan shook his head, ran out to the field. Well, let's see what they decided upon.
Jack, his numbers, 41 of 49, 437 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And he would love to add one more TD to that total tonight. Brennan throws it, has it complete. 2, 1, touchdown, Hawaii, Grice-Mullens. Yesterday, when we visited with the receivers, one of them made the comment that when we asked about Colt Brennan, he said, "Oh, don't worry, he is Prince of the Islands." Probably got a pretty good idea why tonight with 5 touchdown passes, coming back from 21 points down. This game is not over, but boy, has he ever done his part as far as not only making up the difference, but being a clutch performer.
And that's what Heisman voters needed to see. If you were considering, and we're all, Jack, you, myself, we're all Heisman voters. This is the type of stuff you need to see. Big games, the most important game of his career, of the entire state of Hawaii as far as football, college football. Nice job. A little bit of a pick there by Devon Best, but you end up again with a safety trying to cover one of those receivers. Forrester is the guy trying to get over there, and it's just a mismatch. But this is what, if you were thinking about putting Colt Brennan on your ballot 1, 2, or 3, this is what you needed to see.
44 seconds left on the clock. The man who is back deep is Louis Rankin. We all know how totally dangerous he can be.
Opened the Apple Cup with an 89-yard kickoff return for a touchdown last week, so he can take it the distance.
Here comes the kick. Deep, all the way back to the end zone. Rankin, right up the middle, bangs into his own man, and that'll be the end of the road at the 22-yard line.
Now, the thing that Washington, I think, has to do is roll out to the left now because it's the wide side of the field, Jake Locker. Do not try drop-back passes because I would bet Greg McMackin is going to back guys way up but still bring pressure because he knows that Locker's going to have a hard time getting that out. So, for Washington, if they want a chance with 1 timeout, 38 seconds left, play to your strength. Locker's a good runner. Let him roll out and maybe pull it down if he has to.
I started to say, Locker can kill you in one play as well. Locker from the shotgun. Looking, got it over the middle, throws complete to his tight end, Gottlieb, and he will be stopped just across the 45-yard line. So a huge piece of real estate on the vertical route by the tight end, just right down the gut.
Good job of Washington getting into position and not losing any time once it's set.
28 seconds, now 27, blitz off the corner. Locker, they picked it up for him, going deep, got the big man, and it's caught. Caught by Marcel Reese, and he is out of bounds bounds at the 4-yard line. Myron Newberry is the guy who forced him out of bounds.
And one of the first throws in several games, long throws by Jake Locker that were not overthrown. He actually slightly underthrew this ball, which is what you want to do. Reese is going to be wide open. The safety does not get back in time. And Reese, a bigger guy, and the corner Newberry got caught looking. He was playing deep. He got caught peeking into the backfield. What a big mistake by a cornerback in that situation.
So here we go with his first down and goal from the 4-yard line. Locker will keep it. Tries to turn the corner. In trouble, and now is going to be dropped for a 2-yard loss.
Got to get his time out.
Amimian makes the tackle. Clock runs down to 12 seconds, and they call a timeout. A field goal will do Washington no good here. They've got to get it in the end zone.
And now you are out of timeouts. So unless you throw it into the end zone, you run the risk of running the clock out before you get the play. So everything's got to go into the end zone right now for your quarterback, or tell him when he's rolling out, because I would expect Washington to roll this out. But remember, when you do rollout passes, it takes longer for the play to develop. So with 12 seconds, you're probably looking at 2 plays, not 3. Excuse me, but make sure that freshman quarterback knows to throw it away. If he's rolling out, doesn't see it, throw it away.
Let's go down to Jackaroo. Jack.
Guys, remember, there are 4.2 million reasons why this Hawaii Warrior team wants to win this game. It would be a trip to a BCS bowl game. That would be their individual payout. As I said at the top of the show, how much is that? It's almost a 100% increase over what their annual budget of $2.2 million is for the entire sport of football here at the University of Hawaii.
And think about the entire WAC conference watching this game, and all of the mid-majors watching this game. The Sun Belt Conference USA all rooting for Hawaii. And here's Washington with a chance. No timeouts, 12 seconds.
Greg McMacken is still out there, just now leaving the field. Second down and goal. The ball is 6.5 yards away from the end zone. Locker drops the throw. Got a man, and he throws it. Intercepted. Is going to go 12-0. They're also going to get a penalty for celebration, but right now they don't care.
Number 1.
Some of the fans coming out of the stands. This ball game is not over. And what's more important to the fans, let your team celebrate. They're the ones that have earned this situation. The fans should honor and respect that situation. Stay in the stands and applaud them. It's not about them jumping around acting crazy.
Well, and Jake Locker did not throw a bad ball here. Marcel Reese did not catch it clean, and it was the inside foot actually kicked it up in the air and kept the ball alive for Mouton to come in and make the interception. But if he catches that ball clean, he wins it.
Colt Brennan and the reaction.
I should say he ties it if they get the extra point, but that ball was pretty well thrown by Jake Locker. But Colt Brennan could only sit and watch after a masterful drive. And the young freshman across the way made it very interesting.
3 seconds showing on the clock. That's what we have left in the ball game. Hawaii with a 35-28 lead. All they need to do is have Colt Brennan take a knee, and this will be a perfect season for them.
And this needs to be the point made. Hawaii is the only undefeated team left in the football bowl subdivision. All arguments out the window. They deserve to go to a BCS bowl game. I believe they will. I think the BCS is going to shake out with what happened today. But these guys, the season they've played, and Washington's a better team than given credit for. They deserve it.
Here comes the snap. Brennan takes it, goes to a knee, 2 seconds, 1 second. This one is history. And Washington, what a valiant effort by the Huskies tonight, but they lose it by 7, and Hawaii goes 12-0. And now we await the decision tomorrow by the BCS to see if an invite will come to the islands, and if so, where they will go. It has been hinted that if they won this ball game tonight, that New Orleans and the Sugar Bowl probably would be their destination.
Things shake up a little bit because it looks like now the Rose Bowl is going to lose Ohio State. LSU back in the mix, could end up in that top 2 position, as crazy as that sounds. So they may lose the Sugar Bowl, so that'll change some of the at-larges, but it does look most likely. First of all, I think Hawaii does finish in the top 12, which is what it takes as a non-BCS school to get in.
And as you can see down on the field, it is... Let's go down to the field in Jackaroo.
Well, Coach, the Honolulu Advertiser says it the best. Perfect. Congratulations.
Well, thanks, buddy. It was a great comeback effort. Our kids have never quit all year. We've been in these situations on the road, and they rallied up. I'm so proud of them. You know, the good Lord has blessed these kids because they've honored Him, and it's just been a real special year.
How about for you, Coach, to battle back from the devastating injuries that you suffered going home on the H1 highway, to bringing Colt Brennan in, to bring in Devon Breeze, Brett Best, and all of the decisions that you've made based upon your gut right here? How fulfilling is this for you?
Well, you know, I started feeling it last year when we were going to Alabama that I really felt this group the next years. I really started to start. The good Lord saved me for a reason, and I think we've changed the lives of so many kids on our team. It's just been a real blessing.
Colt, you told this team, Coach, that it was an NFL-type playoff. You went through the wild card, you went through the conference and division, and now you're on your way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we are. Now we just got to get one more. It's an awesome effort by our kids, and I'm so proud of them.
Thanks, Coach. Go celebrate.
Okay, Jackaroo, once again, our final score is 35-28. Hawaii winning over Washington. For more on tonight's game, tune into ESPN News for a post-game extra. For Ed Cunningham and Jackaroo, I'm Ron Franklin saying so long from Honolulu, Hawaii. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Now stay tuned for more college football action and an encore presentation of Friday's Fresno State, New Mexico State game. Hawaii comes from 21 points down to win it. Final again. Warriors 35 and the Huskies 28. So long, everybody.